Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, if you're, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him...
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a very special Sunday evening edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hello.
Welcome. We have quite the crowd.
We have been shorn.
In. Yes,
quite the shorn crowd. Like sheep.
We have quite the crowd filing in this evening. 847 strong in the YouTube chat. 1,600 strong in the Rumble chat. Thank you, Rumble, for helping us out tonight, Sunday, January 26th. The heart of America is bleeding and beating for the Buffalo Bills. That's right. The heart of America beats for Buffalo tonight as they go up against the Kansas City Chiefs. I cannot think of a greater litmus test for how American you are. Okay, I don't even like America that much, but I'm not so anti-American as to root for the Chiefs tonight. If you're rooting for the Chiefs tonight, you should be deported. They should call ICE on you if you're rooting for the Chiefs tonight. Luckily,
look,
I live in upstate New York, so this is Bills country right here, so I don't have to man the phones tonight. But yeah, man, like if you hate America so much as to root for the Chiefs, this really isn't the place for you.
You know, we should really get Nick in here. You guys talk about that.
So, yeah. Okay, so I will pussy out a little bit and say, exception if you do live in Kansas City. Okay, it's natural. You're going to root for Kansas City. But if you don't live in the Kansas City metro area, then your heart has to be with the Bills. They're down 7-3 as we are going in. So
you're down 7-3. All right. This is what's going to decide whether I move there.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
I'm not going to move to a loser town. I'm not going to move to a town that would lose to Kansas City. Fuck that. Come on.
Kansas
Maybe
City.
I'll move to Kansas City if they win.
They want the Chiefs in the Super Bowl because they get the Swiftie audience with that, so they are up against the refs tonight. They're
so it's going to be rigged.
The Swifties. Well, this is what I mean. This is why I say, man, like you got to, if you're an American, you got to be rooting for Buffalo, right? I mean, only the lowest haters of star fucking dick riders are rooting for Kansas City tonight. I mean, that's who you are if you're rooting for the Chiefs tonight, and you don't live in Kansas City. Obviously, we give the locals a pass. Look, I have to give the locals a pass. I'm a Yankee fan, so I understand the Yankees are the evil empire. I expect people to show me a little grace as a New Yorker, okay, right? So I will extend that grace to Kansas City residents, okay? You're off the hook. Everybody else got to be rooting for the Bills.
And they rally, stand up,
they are.
Be American.
Exactly.
No, seriously, I will say this. As somebody who does not watch sports, who grew up in a very sports neighborhood, I usually find sports fans really annoying. I was up there during a Bills game when I went to Buffalo in 2022. And it was good spirited. They didn't annoy me with their Bills gear and hanging out.
The Bills are an American team.
They were not dickish like the Yankees fans on the D train are.
The Bills are the Gary Cooper of football teams. They are the perennial everyman
what about Green
underdog.
Bay? I thought that was Green Bay.
No, because the Bills are the underdog. Green Bay is a historically great team. The Bills are the perennial underdog. They're the gentlemanly, keep to themselves, nose to the grindstone, American underdog up against the Swiftie Chiefs, the World Economic Forum of football teams. So I mean, come on, this is not even close. Not even close.
She was a young global leader, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
she was a young global
I
leader.
think her and Tulsi were in the same class.
Yeah, right. Her and Tulsi Gabbard were in the same class. That's right.
They came up together.
That's right. Yes, we understand that. Hey, folks, I got a great crowd in here tonight. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button on YouTube. Smash that follow button over on Rumble. Thank you guys so much for being here this evening. Great to have such a big crowd. We are going to get the show started. This is a pretty urgent story, folks, a fairly urgent story. Aaron Mate was informed, apparently, on stage at a speaking engagement in Toronto of news that electronic intifada journalist Ali Abunimah was arrested and detained in Switzerland, of all places. Very un-Swiss of Switzerland, I must say.
Just reading about it now, for those who don't know Ali, he's the co-founder of Electronic Intifada, a vital site for information about Palestine. It's been around for a very long time, and I'm among many people who would be so ill-informed without Electronic Intifada. So I'm very upset to hear that Ali's been detained. I'm not surprised though, because Ali's been at the forefront of calling out the complicity of European states in the genocide in Gaza. And so the fact that he's being arrested now in Zurich is not surprising. Also following so many other crackdowns in Europe. Like, what is it about Europe deciding to carry on the Nazi tradition in the service of today's Nazis? So I'm reminded of that doctor from Gaza. I'm sorry his name escapes me, but the very well-known one who went recently to try to... Yes. Who was arrested, or was prevented from entering the country to deliver lectures that he was invited to. I mean, this is the face of Europe right now. It's so abhorrent, and so free Ali Abunimah.
Ali Abunimah sounds better. I've heard it pronounced both ways, but I want to go Abunimah because that sounds a lot better.
It's not really that surprising. The Swiss have always had a weakness for Nazi gold.
That's true. That's true. And by the way, the surgeon that he mentions there, the Palestinian surgeon I'm referring to, is denied entry to Germany, is Dr. Gazan Abu Sittah. But here it is, press release from the Electronic Intifada. EI's Ali Abunimah arrested in Switzerland. The Electronic Intifada's executive director, Ali Abunimah, was arrested by Swiss police ahead of a speaking event in Zurich on Saturday afternoon. He is currently being detained and has had access to legal counsel. The arrest came one day after Abunimah arrived in Zurich for a speaking tour. When he arrived at Zurich airport on Friday, Abunimah was questioned by police for an hour before being allowed to enter the country. Abunimah's arrest appears to be part of a growing backlash from the Western governments against expressions of solidarity with the Palestinian people. Last year, several activists and journalists in Britain were arrested, raided, or charged using counter-terror powers. These include Asa Winstanley, an associate editor with the Electronic Intifada, whose home was raided and his computers and phones seized. Winstanley has not been charged with any crime. The Electronic Intifada team stands in solidarity with Ali Abunimah. Speaking out against injustice in Palestine is not a crime. Journalism is not a crime. Mick Wallace says arresting Ali Abunimah is one more example of Western powers' drift to authoritarianism. Switzerland used to describe itself as a neutral state, but it too now has sold out to U.S. empire. Follow the money. Kit Clarenberg, absolutely shocking. Authorities in Switzerland have arrested my friend and editor Ali Abunimah ahead of a scheduled event. He remains detained on uncertain grounds. The age of tyranny is well upon us in the West. We must fight back. Remember, there's more of us than them. This, of course, is not the first time he has faced legal trouble from the liberal free states of Europe. EI's Ali Abunimah is being threatened by German authorities with prison and fines for giving this talk about why Germany is participating in Israel's genocide in Gaza. So this was back in July. We're going to play a minute of this where he explains the predicament he found himself in.
Earlier today, I received a notice from the German authorities informing me that I'm prohibited from speaking to you today and threatening me with criminal penalties, including fines and up to 1 year in prison if I defy this order. Here it is. It's actually 15 pages long. Obviously, since I'm in the United States, I'm beyond the jurisdiction of the Berlin regime. I assume that they could still open a criminal proceeding against me in Germany and try to harass me in that manner. But whether I were physically in Germany or not, my response would be exactly the same. I do not take orders from a regime that is an accomplice in genocide.
There you go. Now, what he says there, he's based in the United States. Ali was born in the United States. He was born in Washington, D.C. He was educated in the United States, I believe Princeton and the University of Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. He is an American. Mm-hmm. He's an American being detained in fucking Switzerland, of all places. We're going to take this shit from fucking Switzerland. So I have to ask, we'd be asking this question, where's the government when Joe Biden was president? So where's Mr. Free Speech Donald Trump there, who said he was going to restore free speech? That was part of his inaugural address. That's been a major point of emphasis during this transition. Are we going to let Switzerland? He's very, very willing to play hardball with Panama and Greenland and Colombia now with tariffs because they sent back some migrants. All right. Well, how about turning the screws on Switzerland to give us our journalists back? Because clearly, this is a pattern in Europe. As their press release mentioned, UAK police raid home, seize devices of Asa Winstanley, charged with no crime. They just rousted him. Of course, Richard Medhurst, can't make this up, journalist arrested under UK anti-terror law hours after criticizing it. Medhurst in our space, a podcaster, a YouTuber, a Rumble creator, being brought up on terror charges for literally expressing an opinion, nothing else. Reporter Sarah Wilkinson arrested by UK government for opposition to Gaza genocide. That's an article from the World Socialist website. I'm going to have to insist that you all read that. I'm going to insist that you read that. Yes.
All of their articles.
Yes, all that and all of them, but that one first.
All of them from the first publication.
Exactly. Yes, in order, starting with that one and then going back to the first one. Acclaimed journalist charged with anti-Semitism. So this is Mary Kostakidis in Australia. For years, the face of television news in Australia as an anchor of the SBS nightly broadcast has been accused of supporting ethnic cleansing of Jews for 2 retweets about Israel's war on Gaza, reports Joe Loria from Consortium News. She posted a speech from a Hezbollah leader. As a journalist, that is a responsibility of yours if you're covering these topics to actually list and cite primary sources. And for that, she has been harassed by the Australian courts.
Now, is she charged?
I don't believe she's been charged yet.
Yeah, that would surprise me because Australia wouldn't let in those IDF soldiers recently on suspicion of war crimes.
Right. Yeah. She has not been charged yet, but they are, as the article mentions, giving her a hard time. And these cases were sourced. I mean, I had known about a few of them, but sourced from this wonderful Caitlin Johnston article. The always great Caitlin Johnston had a piece about this. Another journalist arrested in another Western nation for wrong think about Israel. So obviously, I encourage you, as we always do, to check that out. But yeah, this is really, really scary. There is no place to run for free speech, apparently, right? I mean, we always thought, hey, look, once America goes fascist, you got Europe. I guess I'm a European citizen. Right. I always thought, well, if it gets real bad, I'll move to France. No, can't move to the EU
Canada.
Now. Yeah, no. Canada, no. There is no safe haven for free speech. There really is not. It is getting really, really terrifying. The guy lands in Switzerland. Again, Switzerland, which prides itself on its neutrality. He lands in Switzerland and they detain him and arrest him. Like I said, this has happened to his peer in the past. It's happened to him in the past, Germany. But yeah, this is really nightmarish. It is really a dystopian thing. and there seems to be no safe refuge from the anti-speech police.
Part of the irony of this, and this is something that a lot of us with a less crazed critique of a lot of cancel culture were warning about, they built the precedents and the infrastructure for cracking down on speech in the course of cracking down on pronouns. Now they're using that same apparatus and those same pronouns, for example, they're using those same tactics against people who are pro-Palestine. They already crossed that line. This is what I've been saying from the beginning. A lot of things that the left or liberal left embraced have really turned against them very quickly. They already established precedents for wrongthink, for wrong speech, for facing professional academic consequences. In countries like the UK, we did a few stories about this, where they arrested an autistic woman for calling a cop a lesbian. And they're dragging her out of the house, and they're trying to explain she's autistic. Her grandmother's a lesbian. She didn't mean anything by it. Well, now you've set up all of the infrastructure you need to persecute people for thought crime, to persecute people for speech crime. In the United States, it's more difficult to execute this in this way. But the reason school's back in session and you're not seeing these continued protests is because they have pretty effectively on a lot of the campuses, including Harvard, including NYU, really made it a threat to your continued matriculation to say anything about Zionism. They just, with Harvard, they just settled these lawsuits where now they adopted this crazed standard. I forget the name of the organization that pushes this standard, has tried to pass it through Congress in the United States. They did pass it, I think, in the House, and it didn't go through the Senate. That essentially makes calling someone a Zionist a hate crime.
Right.
They did that at NYU also. I'm right across from City College. They still have a fence around it to keep people out. You still have to show ID. You can't just walk across that campus like you used to. They effectively shut down the whole student movement. This is an extension of it. It is just, this was the first real rebellion against this regime that they've seen, against the liberal world order. And this is how they responded. And the thing is, nobody's coming to save you, because Trump and his people, they're all on board with this. They're all on board with it.
Yep. And we know Biden was.
Look what happened with TikTok.
Now look what happened
now
with
you
TikTok,
can't you can't say free Palestine on there now.
That's right. So this is, for anybody who has to hear this, and none of our regulars have to hear this. You all know this, but we probably got some new viewers coming in here tonight, and these streams make their way out to new people all the time. You cannot be pro-Israel and pro-free speech. You cannot.
Nope.
You cannot. You cannot be indifferent on Israel and be pro-free speech.
You can't. It very quickly becomes absolutely ridiculous.
Yep.
If you will not take on Israel for whatever reason you claim that is, if you will not address that, you look like a clown when you talk about speech. You look like a clown when you talk about corruption. You look like a clown when you talk about the military-industrial complex.
Right, or the
because
defense budget,
Israel
right,
touches on all of those subjects. You cannot be screaming about John Brennan. If you will not talk about Israel, you look fucking ridiculous. You look ridiculous. You make yourself absolutely useless as a journalist, as a commentator, if you're afraid of this subject. You lose all credibility.
Yep. I agree. And last but certainly not least, there is a change.org petition for whatever those are worth to free Ali. I pinned that to the top of our Twitter feed. So you can find that by going to x.com/do-dissidents. That is the pinned tweet atop our feed when you get to our profile. So please sign that and share that. All right. That's x.com/do-dissidents. I don't know what those things do, but if they didn't do anything, I guess people wouldn't sign them. I mean, change.org's been around for a while, so must be good for something. At the very least, a show of solidarity with Ali. I'm sure he would be moved by that. So let's all make that happen. All right. Bejan Edama, thanks for the $5 over on YouTube. A question on BDS. When I watch podcasts like Aaron Cohen, JNS, Adelson Funded, or the Israeli guys, am I selling out or being informed, entertained? I mean, look, everybody's got their hate watch. I watch stuff that I really don't agree with, so it's not like giving them 3 cents, every week with the ad revenue they make off your viewership. No, I wouldn't count that as selling out. I mean, everybody's you have to keep your ear to the ground with what the other side's saying, and plus, everybody has a guilty hate watch. That's normal. So no, I'll give you a pass on that.
Well, and also you have got to, because we have such a bifurcated media. Very often, the right-wing media will break stories about the left first. So you've got to have your ear to that. Exactly. You also notice what's happening by what's not being said. We're doing a story on Hollywood later. And I was telling Keaton, we were talking about it earlier, I know these actors shut the fuck up because I watch a lot of channels whose bread and butter is talking about, Mark Hamill having a meltdown, and they got nothing. They got nothing. They've been talking about Captain America 4 for 2 weeks.
There you go. Hey, 2,400 over in the Rumble chat. And 2,060 in the YouTube chat. That's good for another one. Awesome. Smash that subscribe button, everybody.
And I'm
Smash
wearing the shirts. We got to get to 666.
We got to get there. We got to get there this evening. Absolutely. Kuznetsky was saying, thanks for the $4.99. Appreciate that. Danny says, Keaton looks like a bearded KD Lang. Nice haircut. Yeah, that's why I didn't shave, because if I didn't shave, I would just look exactly like KD Lang. So I was hoping if I kept my beard, you wouldn't notice how much like KD Lang I look. But I guess it didn't work. I guess you see everything. Thank you. Big Gator Caesar, $100 from Big Gator Caesar. Let's hear it. Thank you, Big Gator.
Keep doing that. You get your own sound drop, and I know what it's going to be. We already have the alligator man on the intermission.
That's right. And we have that this week.
Just pull that. We have that this week.
AIPAC threatens Congress to ban TikTok. They ban it, and Trump rides in on his white horse to save it. Then TikTok bans anything related to Palestine. What are your thoughts? Well, we got into that a little bit in the last segment. That's the price of doing business in the good old United States of America, right?
The whole thing that people wanted to save it for, you can no longer do there.
Right, exactly. They just basically neutered it. Now, so they censor it because there's too much pro-Palestine content on there. Then they ban it. Then Trump cuts who knows what deal to keep it going. With the caveat, thing, there's one thing, just one thing. You can't say free Palestine anymore. Yeah. So I mean,
no more of those kids talking about the G word. No more of the G word on there.
No more of that G word. That's right. AD, thanks for the $20. Appreciate that. The UN just declared my Twitter block list a Jewish supremacist ethno-state. Thank you. Concerned Citizen, NATO's the Fourth Reich. Thank you, Concerned Citizen. Ken Texican over on Rumble. Got some Rumble ranters tonight. Will not be able to hang with live show tonight, but I thank you in advance. I know you'll hit them hard and true. Well, thank you for those words of encouragement, my friend. Appreciate that. Serious question.
Smashed them, you might say.
Yeah. Are we the People's Front of Due Dissidents or the Due Dissidents People's Front? Asking for it. I like the People's Front of Due Dissidents, actually. That's
pretty funny.
It's got some rhythm. Thank you, Killer Hinton. Appreciate that. All righty. Let's go to segment number 2. All right. This is a fun one. Talking a little AI.
All right. So Donald Trump this week assembled the Legion of Doom at the White House to announce the impending arrival of Project Stargate.
My honor to welcome 3 of the world's leading technology CEOs. And in the case of Larry Ellison, it's well beyond technology. He's sort of CEO of everything. He's an amazing man, an amazing business person. But to announce the largest AI infrastructure project by far in history, and it's all taking place right here in America. As you know, there's great competition for AI and other things, and they're coming in at the highest level. We're joined by Oracle Executive Chairman Larry Ellison. SoftBank CEO, my friend Masa Yoshi's son, and CEO of OpenAI, and I would say the by far the leading expert based on everything I read, Sam Altman.
And
So
finally,
it's great
this
that
is
you
the
come.
year that we're going to kill Superman.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So this was OpenAI's announcement. The Stargate project is a new company which intends to invest $500 billion over the next 4 years, building new AI infrastructure for OpenAI in the United States. We will begin deploying $100 billion immediately. This infrastructure will secure American leadership in AI, create hundreds of thousands of American jobs, and generate massive economic benefit for the entire world. This project will not only support the reindustrialization of the United States, but also provide a strategic capability to protect the national security of America and its allies. Now, they are not working with Palantir, but you might know Palantir has been developing Lavender, an AI targeting system that allegedly has been deployed as part of the crusade in Gaza. The initial equity funders in Stargate are SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, and MGX, SoftBank, and OpenAI are the lead partners for Stargate, with SoftBank having financial responsibility and OpenAI having operational responsibility. Masayoshi's son will be the chairman. ARM, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Oracle, and OpenAI are the key initial technology partners. The build-out is currently underway, starting in Texas, and we are evaluating potential sites across the country for more campuses as we finalize definitive agreements. So it goes on a bit, but you get the gist. Now, the ladies got into a little bit of a tiff here. Elon comes in. They don't actually have the money.
Yeah.
To which Sam replies, I genuinely respect your accomplishments and think you are the most inspiring entrepreneur of our time. Tries to take the high road. Of course, Elon is not going to take that. SoftBank has well under $10 billion secured. I have that on good authority. To which Altman replies a little more heatedly, wrong. As you surely know, want to come visit the first site already underway? This is great for the country. I realize what is great for the country isn't always what's optimal for your companies, but in your new role, I hope you'll mostly put flag emoji America first.
You're such a fantastic moron.
So now I, the ladies got all misty. They got in a huff. Lindsey Graham had to calm them both down. But here is, we don't know what the truth of it is, but here is Masayoshi's son, who is basically the banker of the project from SoftBank, speaking at this gathering.
Mr. President, last month I came to celebrate your winning and promised that we will invest $100 billion. And you told me, oh, Masa, go for 200. Yeah. Now I came back with 500. Because this is the, as you said yesterday, this is the beginning of golden age of America. This is one great example, I think, right?
Okay, that is what they call puckering up and kissing that anus. So according to him, they have the 500 billion. Musk says no, but he has his own interests in denying it. So let's take a look at that. What's behind this clash? This did not start now. Musk, as many conflicts often start as business partnerships, especially when you're in business with Musk. That's how it started. The public clash over Stargate is part of a years-long dispute between Musk and Altman that began with a boardroom rivalry over who should run OpenAI, which both men helped found. Musk, an early OpenAI investor and board member, sued the artificial intelligence company last year, alleging it had betrayed its founding aims as a nonprofit research lab benefiting the public good rather than pursuing profits. Musk has since escalated the dispute, adding new claims and asking for a court order that would stop OpenAI's plans to convert itself into a for-profit business more fully. A hearing is set for February in a California federal court. Well, you know, it's funny, Keaton. You know, the way I heard it, these guys like Musk all believe in the free enterprise system, and they believe in free competition and an open marketplace. That sounds like lawfare to me, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound like he's manipulating the legal system to eliminate the competition at the expense of the consumer and their choice between products?
Sounds like a Democrat to me.
Sounds like a commie.
Sounds like a Kamala voter to me. Sounds like a Kamala voter to me. He talked about all that money he gave Donald Trump. Did he bring $5 for Kamala to jerk him off in the coat room? Sounds like he did. Sounds like he likes Kamala a little better.
I hear you could get her for $250.
Good.
The world's richest man, whose companies include Tesla, SpaceX, and X, last year started his own rival AI company, XAI. Ah, you don't say. That is building its own big data center in Memphis, Tennessee. Musk says it faces unfair competition from OpenAI and its close business partner, Microsoft, which has supplied the huge computing resources needed to build AI systems such as ChatGPT. Tech news outlet The Information first reported on an OpenAI data center project called Stargate in March 2024, indicating that it's been in the works long before Trump announced it. Another company, Crusoe Energy Systems, announced in July it was building a large and specially designed AI data center at the northwest edge of Abilene, Texas, at a site run by energy technology company Lancium. AI technology requires huge amounts of electricity to build and operate, and both companies said the project would be powered with renewable sources such as nearby solar farms. These sounded more and more like Democrats. What's wrong with good old oil and coal? I thought there's no global warming. What are they? What's all this hippie shit? What's with the solar? In a way that Lancium CEO Michael McNamara said would, quote, deliver the maximum amount of green energy at the lowest possible cost. Crusoe said it would own and develop the facility. It's not clear how and when that project became the first phase of the Stargate investment revealed by Trump. Abilene Mayor Weldon Hurt said construction began about 9 months ago, but, quote, we didn't know it was going to be quite this big. We thought it was going to be about a third of this size. Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison said Tuesday that the Abilene project is the first of about 10 data center buildings currently being built, and that number could expand to 20. Hurt told the Associated Press that the region surrounding Abilene, a city of about 130,000 people, benefits from a wealth of energy sources, including oil, gas, solar, and some of the largest wind farms in the world, though Trump signaled opposition to wind power this week by temporarily halting approval of wind projects on federal lands. You know, my grandkids, they like the whales. They like the whales.
Whales
it's
first.
Killing,
That's
Bobby tells me it's killing the whales.
I ran on whales first.
We had Greenpeace. They love me. They wrote me a very big check. Greenpeace.
They would have endorsed me, but they're commies.
They
like me. They love me on the whales.
They can't do it. You know, those people, they form a troika and they kill you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have the capability to produce the energy for this market, so it really means a lot for a town like Abilene, Hurt said. To have this opportunity here in West Central Texas, to have something like this to make Abilene substantial, we're just excited about it. Missing from Trump's press conference Tuesday was Microsoft, which has long supported OpenAI with billions of dollars in investments and enabling its data centers to be used to build the models behind ChatGPT and other generative AI tools. Microsoft is also a technology partner in the Stargate project, along with chip makers NVIDIA and ARM, but put out a statement noting that its OpenAI partnership will evolve in a way that enables OpenAI to build additional capacity, primarily for research and training of models. So Davos was just happening this week, and Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella was asked what's going on with this girl fight about who's paying for what and whether they have the money.
I don't know if you saw Elon Musk took to Twitter and said they don't have the money. The money doesn't exist, as if this is not really going to happen. What do you think of that?
Look, all I know is I'm good for my $80 billion. I'm going to spend $80 billion building out Azure. Customers can count on Microsoft with OpenAI models being there everywhere in the world, serving OpenAI models and other models. That's, I think, what I know.
Translation. My name's Paul, and that's between you all. He didn't want to get into that shit. He's like, yeah, we're a partner. We're good for our share. I don't know nothing about that. So let's take a look at some of the rogues gallery of New World Order sociopaths that Trump invited for this celebration of Project Stargate. So here's Larry Ellison explaining that they're going to use mRNA vaccines to cure cancer.
We gene sequence, once we gene sequence that cancer tumor, you can then vaccinate the person, design a vaccine for every individual person to vaccinate them against that cancer. And you can make that vaccine, that mRNA vaccine, you can make that robotically, again using AI, in about 48 hours. So imagine early cancer detection, the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours. This is the promise of AI and the promise of the future.
You know, when pitching what seems like a far-fetched medical innovation, it's really important to look and sound like the maitre d' at a Vegas buffet. It really inspires confidence because, you know, otherwise people might think...
Well, it takes the edge off.
Yeah, I mean, it really is comforting, you know, because otherwise people might think, I don't know about this. But, you know, he looks like, I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
He definitely looks like a guy who could say escargot in a very snooty way.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
So MAGA world was not crazy about this announcement, this turn of events. They didn't see this coming. In spite of the fact that Trump was the person who greenlit Operation Warp Speed, right? Peter Bovat here says, Trump Day 2, Fauci 2.0. Enter Larry Ellison and $500 billion Project Stargate. This mad scientist announced the new plans to use AI to create individualized mRNA cancer vaccines. Trump's not going to stop the mRNA poison shots. He's doubling down on them.
Now, we have to stop there and just say that's his opinion. They're poison shots. That is not our opinion.
That's not our opinion. They're safe and effective. Here's Alex Jones. He interviewed Jay Dyer. Project Stargate is a Luciferian AI plot. Wow. That is a way with words, man. That man is a poet. And here's MJ Truth Ultra pulling some of the bullet points from Robert Malone's interview, Dr. Robert Malone's interview with Alex Jones. He argues the vaccine should not be the solution to cancer. The way cancer should be dealt with is with lifestyle changes, including diet. He says it'd be nice if they succeeded. He's cheering for that. But knowing the industry and how they operate, the federal government should be nowhere near this. He says it was a monumental failure for Susie Wiles, that's Trump's chief of staff, to allow this to happen on day 2 of his administration. Jumping ahead a little, spending big federal money on a program like this and highlighting it on the second day of your presidency, that just doesn't compute. I don't get it. Now, I'm sure Trump is aware. Maybe he isn't, but he probably is. Dr. Robert Malone pulls a lot of weight with a big segment of his base. Now, let's take a closer look at Ellison here. This is from Richard Willett. Trump's partner in Stargate, Larry Ellison, wanted to introduce a digital ID off the back of 9/11 as far back as 2001 and offered to give it to the Fed for free. This is the guy now in charge of the huge database structures backed by $500 billion and Trump. But it gets better. It gets better. Here's Larry Ellison almost salivating about the possibilities of AI for behavior modification and control.
Will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording, watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on. And it's unimpeachable. The cars have cameras on them. I think we have a squad car here someplace. But those kind of applications using AI, if we can use AI, and we're using AI to monitor the video. So if that altercation that occurred in Memphis, the chief of police would be immediately notified. It's not people that are looking at those cameras, it's AI that's looking at the camera. No, you can't do this. It would be like a shooting. That's going to be an event that's immediately, an alarm is going to go off, it's going to be, and we're going to have supervision. In other words, every police officer is going to be supervised at all times. And the supervision will, and if there's a problem, AI will report the problem and report it to the appropriate person, whether it's the sheriff or the chief or whomever we need to take control of the situation. We have, same thing. We have drones. If there's something going on in a shopping center, and I'll stop. A drone goes out there, get there way faster than a police car. There's no reason for, by the way, high-speed chases. You shouldn't have high-speed chases between cars. You just have a drone follow the car. I mean, it's very, very simple. And the new generation of autonomous drones.
All right. Terrified yet? All right. So he's describing a total surveillance state. And I have to give him credit. After 2 millennia, he has finally answered the old Roman aphorism, who watches the watchman? Well, the AI will watch the citizen, and the AI will watch the police. The AI will watch everybody, right? We'll all be watched by AI. So this is one of the main architects of the new AI system with 20 data centers and $500 billion behind it and Trump's full support. Now, listen, I'm sorry. And we talked about this offline, and I'll say it here. With the liberals, yeah, man, you could tell them you're going to end mass incarceration, and then when you get in office, you can increase police funding, as Joe Biden did. He didn't run on ending mass incarceration, but he acknowledged some mistakes in that area, did nothing about that. But he did increase police funding. They won't say shit. There is, as we're seeing, and we'll see more of, a lot of the MAGA base is rebelling against this and recognizing that, they voted against the New World Order, and this is just giving them what they voted against in a more privatized form.
Right. This is when you send the New World Order a 1099.
Right. That's it.
They basically
privatize
subcontracted it out. Right.
Right. And a lot of them are speaking out about it, but a lot of them aren't. This is what I would say. If you, I know we have some MAGA viewers, and we appreciate you. I would say anybody that you watch in that space who's not talking about this, now you know exactly who the grifters are. Anybody who's not speaking out against this, forget about it. They're not worth your time. That would be my advice as somebody from the outside of that world. All right.
Cancel your Patreon to the Rudy Giuliani show.
Well, obviously Daily Wire's not going to say fuck about shit. They're not going to say a goddamn word about any of this. You'll know who the real ones are by who says something. And some of them already are. So Sam Altman kind of is following what we call, he's pulling a Zuckerberg. This was Sam Altman in 21. Very few people realize just how much Reid Hoffman did and spent to stop Trump from getting reelected. It seems reasonably likely to me that Trump would still be in office without his efforts. Thank you, Reid. Well, he's singing a different tune now. So here he is talking about how we're going to have to restructure society to accommodate their Frankenstein monster.
I still expect, although I don't know what, and this is over a long period of time. This is not a like next year or, you know, the year after that kind of thing. But over a long period of time, I still expect that there will be some change required to the social contract, given how powerful we expect this technology to be. I'm not a believer that there won't be any jobs. I think we always find new things to do. But I do think like the whole structure of society itself will, you know, be up for some degree of debate and reconfiguration.
And who's going to do that reconfiguring? People like you, I wager. So here's Whitney explaining it like she does in her inimitable fashion, commenting actually on the previous video. The fact this guy and Larry Ellison, who is pushing digital ID and says AI surveillance will force us all to be on our best behavior, were platformed day one at the White House, and the executive branch is touting their outsized role in U.S. AI infrastructure, should be major cause for concern. When the powers that be realized that many Americans would resist a great reset, they obviously noticed that most were expecting it from the public sector. So now its implementation is going to come from the private, likely via public-private partnership. People misunderstand the WEF, that's World Economic Forum, and what it does, in my opinion. But its most obvious and overt goal as a group is facilitate digital transformation and the 4IR, i.e. Great Reset, via the public-private partnership model. Is that 4-1R or 4IR? I've never seen that before.
I'm not sure. I think it's 4IR.
Public-private partnerships do not beget a true free market. They beget crony capitalism and produce state-adjacent corporate monopolies and quasi-monopolies. Yes, I'm sure, as Whitney would agree, we're pretty much there already. Yet expect that many of those great reset policy agendas to be marketed as free market private sector innovation. Expect some of the indie media figures who claimed to be against the Great Reset now support its very policies under different sales pitches. Exactly. Vigilance matters most when many vocal opponents to these agendas have been distracted and or pacified. So Ian Carroll, we're gonna like after the show, we're gonna do it separately. We're gonna do that whole bit again.
Yeah.
All right. So Ian Carroll says all of MAGA and MAHA should oppose this project to their last breath. We are the media now. Get loud. It's one thing to fund AI innovation. It's a different thing to give a golden ticket to a CIA stooge and a sociopathic murderer, to give them oversight over what could possibly be the invention of AGI, that's artificial generalized intelligence, paired with a digital mass surveillance state. Hell no. So we'll just take a look at a little bit of Ian's video.
We all knew this day was coming. I just thought it would be more than 2 days into the presidency. This message is specifically for Donald Trump and his team, as well as every Trump voter out there. Fuck no. Listen, Mr. President, we understand that to put America first, you got to make some big deals with some big dollar signs. And we understand that AI is like the arms race of our time. We understand. But I don't think you realize who you're giving the keys to the castle to. I'm sure Larry seems like a great guy in person when he's talking big money to you. But this is how you lose your entire base. This is how you lose every single person in the media that just supported you. I guarantee you this is how you lose Tucker. You'll lose Alex. You'll lose Joe. You'll lose Candace. You'll lose just about everybody except for Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro.
Oh!
Ooh, boom. And he's right about that. Look, Alex, to his credit, Alex Jones is already speaking out about it. That's why I'm saying if that's the lane you're in, watch who speaks out about this and who doesn't. That is going to tell you quite a lot. So the best meme I saw on this week was this. MAGA finding out they're getting a $500 billion New World Order AI totalitarian monitoring beast system and mRNA cancer vaccines when all they wanted was cheaper gas and food. Yes. If this had been announced, if Joe Biden or Kamala Harris had been standing there in the White House, if the election had gone another way and announced this, they'd be rioting.
Yeah.
They'd be rioting. And again, there is a certain portion of MAGA, like Ian, like Alex, who are speaking out. You'll know a lot by who doesn't and who goes along with this, because Whitney is exactly right. You're going to see a lot of indie podcasters who are going to justify this, or are going to try to say it's entrepreneurship, or are going to try to say we got to beat China. They're going to frame it a completely different way than they would have if this had happened under Biden or any Democratic administration. WEF, New World Order.
Oh, forget
as far as the eye can see. Paul Joseph Watson, he is all over that kind of thing. I'm very curious. Is he going to say anything about it? He may have already. I don't watch him that much, but I know that he was very relentless about the WEF angle under Biden. Is he going to say anything about it? Like, who in this space is going to speak out? That's going to tell you what you need to know.
Well, I always framed the election as a real contest between the ultra rich and the all powerful, right? The all powerful were representing the Democratic Party, right? The World Economic Forum, the Davos people, right? And then the ultra rich are these people here who are coming in. And, it seems to me, we interviewed Whitney Webb on the Jimmy Dore show a couple weeks back. And, I've read some of her work, not all of it. But it seems to be like what she's saying is that they're going to try and usher in a tech feudalism dystopia either way. They will do it through these sort of established channels if the Democrats get their way and they win. And then if they don't, they'll do it this way. They'll just get you to vote for it, and they'll call it entrepreneurship. They'll call it the market. They'll call it capitalism if challenged, right? And say, well, if you're against this, what? Are you trying to stifle innovation? Are you a Luddite? You're trying to hold us back. We're trying to get to the future. I don't want to say it's the same either way, but it is more or less the same either way. Like, more or less. Like, the end result, this just has more of a maverick sort of aesthetic. Right. Which is gonna there's gonna be a turn here along the way where there would have been a turn there the other way. Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll grant you that. But big picture, it doesn't look like too much deviation is really allowed for. And when you look at a guy like Elon, he's a government contractor. Government contractor. He gets
a
government
defense contractor
from Democrats too. Right, exactly. Sure. So that's where I would sort of come down on it. Again, it might be oversimplification to say there's no difference, but the difference seems more superficial than radical.
Sure. No, I think Whitney's got it exactly right. This is, in the end, you want to know why Trump, I said leading into the election, if Trump was allowed to win, I'd have to reevaluate what I believed about the deep state, or I'd have to reevaluate what I believed about Trump. When you see what Trump's actually doing, when you see who he put in his cabinet, it made me reevaluate what I think about Trump. They looked at that. They looked at the mood in the country, and they said, you know what? We're going to get what we want much more easily with this guy than we're going to get it with Harris. With Harris, you're going to have people who still have a little fight in them, fighting. You get Trump, we could slip it right in. Call it the American entrepreneurial spirit, and just execute the same agenda. Just frame it in this very nationalistic way. We got to beat China. Just do that.
Right. Well, exactly. Yeah.
That's all.
Well, you notice who's been silent on this, and I have heard people mention this, is RFK Jr. Now, to be fair, apparently these cabinet nominees are under order to keep their fucking mouth shut until they get confirmed. So that may be why he has not said anything about this. But assuming he goes through the process, assuming he gets confirmed, you would expect to hear something from him on this, right?
We are entering very, very dangerous times. I mean, I sometimes, when we're sitting there preparing the show, I can imagine a time not that far in the future when you cannot do this show, when you can't do this. It is, if you look at what they want, it is control. And they are building out the infrastructure and technology to have every bit as much of a totalitarian clampdown as any of the societies that they accuse of totalitarianism.
Of course. Well, yes. Well, of course. And that's obvious. And what makes that obvious is the fact that Elon Musk is worth $400 billion. Everybody has to understand this. He's already the most powerful person in the world. Donald Trump is the second most powerful person in the world. Elon Musk is easily the most powerful person in the world. Elon Musk could swap out the entire United States government if he wants, at least the legislative branch. He could primary every sitting congressperson, every sitting senator. He could primary the Democrats who he thinks are too far left. He could primary the Republicans who don't go along with his H-1B visa shit. Like, he can buy the government 4 times over.
Right.
That's what you have to understand. So that's the most powerful person in the world. So when you talk about power, it's important to, and I think most people watching our show understand this, but it's important to not just think of power as state power. When wealth is concentrated to the degree it is now, the most powerful people are the oligarchs, are the people who are not in government, but the people who have bought the government. And Elon Musk has literally bought the government. He's literally staying, I mean, now Trump is not at Mar-a-Lago, but he spent the transition period living in Trump's guest house.
Right.
I mean, if that doesn't tell you, I mean,
never paid the tab on the minibar.
Yeah, right, exactly. Stiffed him for the minibar too.
Yeah, this is what I think a lot of right wings and frankly a lot of people with peasant mind who've been brainwashed missed. They get indoctrinated with the idea that, you know, if you tax these people, you're penalizing success, and this first, and you're disincentivizing people for success. You're going to tell me $200 million is not an incentive? Like, that's not enough of an incentive? Like, if you can't make $500 billion,
right,
that's not an incentive to work hard?
Right.
Really? $200 million. If you capped wealth at that, theoretically, it's not a proposal, theoretically, $200 million. People wouldn't work hard for $200 million.
Right. They wouldn't try and get that.
They wouldn't try and get that. That wouldn't be enough. Or once they got to $200 million, the power, the status, the whole life that they live wouldn't incentivize them to continue. You know, a lot of these entrepreneurial types, they're really in it for the game. The money is a scorecard. How much money can you spend? Once you have $200 million, like, what can you not buy?
Right.
What is there that's available on Earth? Like a spaceship?
Well, no,
You know,
what
like
you can't quite buy for $200 million is the United States government. And that's the point of capping wealth. Like, that's the point of a wealth
this
tax.
is it.
Yeah.
And this is what conservatives and people who've been brainwashed into this way of thinking often miss. The 90% tax rate was never about funding the government. You had a much larger middle class back then. The government was funded by the general tax pool. It was not funded by 90% tax on wealth. You taxed wealth at 90% so that you didn't get a guy like Elon Musk who could buy the government.
Right.
That's the point of taxing wealth. It's not to fund the government. It's to keep wealth from concentrating and overpowering the government in this way.
Right. Because concentration of wealth to this extent, I would say, really just crushes and dismantles the principle of one person, one vote.
Of course.
Right?
Elon Musk is the case study for why you want a 90% tax rate.
Right.
And believe me, 10% of what he has, he'd still work for it.
He'd still work for it. He still likes it. All right. We got, let's take a look here. Michael Castillo. Let's get Michael Castillo's sound drop here and our cowbell for $100. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Says, I love both you sexy bastards. Well, thank you, Michael. Appreciate that very much. We got his blasphemy.
Oh, there it is.
Blasphemy against you? What the hell are you? Are you Jesus Christ, you loser?
Exactly. Donald Turner became a YouTube member. Thank you, Donald. Appreciate that very much. AD from earlier, I was just trying to artfully say that I block a lot of Zionists on Twitter. Oh, got it. Thank you, AD. Appreciate that very much. Tom, thanks for the $9.99. China crushed the U.S. AI plans with its DeepSeek AI. They used lower-cost equipment, developed it in 2 months, spent only $5 million, surpassed the performance of ChatGPT, and made it open source. Thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate that. All right, folks. Hey, Russell, you want to give me a minute here?
Oh, you doing the ad?
Yeah, we're gonna get this done now. So, folks, some of you guys over the last stream mentioned that I looked like I didn't get much sleep the night before, but actually, I do sleep like a baby. I did not always sleep through the night, actually. And if you can't remember the last time you slept all night or didn't feel stressed during the day, you need to hear about CBD from CB Distillery. So they've got natural solutions for sleep and stress that people can't stop raving about. Check out some of their 48,000 five-star reviews on their site. People saying it's the best sleep they've gotten in years and that they wake up feeling refreshed and ready to go. It's not just sleep. I started using CBD 4 years ago when I had interrupted sleep almost every night. And my uncle, who was a lifelong user of plants, shall we say, recommended that I get some CBD products. CBD does not get you high. There's no THC in it necessarily. You can get lines with that, but that does not mean that there's THC in it. CBD is a plant-based solution to help with stress, mood, focus, and even pain after exercise, and they're all made with high quality and clean ingredients. So if you take a look, this is one of the selections if you're looking to get started with CBD with CB Distillery at cbdistillery.com. 500 milligram full spectrum CBD oil tincture. This is a 500 milligram solution for $35. If you're not familiar with CBD, this is a great way to start. cbdistillery.com. Really fantastic prices on this stuff. 500 milligrams for $35. At my local health food store, 300 milligram bottles start at $39.99. So this is really a terrific price, a terrific intro. A good place to start with CBD if you haven't used it before is the oil. So the 500 milligram, if you want a little more, 1,000 milligrams for $60, marked down from $70. Even at $60, this is the best priced CBD line I've ever seen. So it's really, really good stuff for a great price. So if you're new to it, this is definitely the place to start. And if you're not new to it, this is a place to go to because I'm sure you know how great these prices are. So there's lots of CBD out there, but I certainly trust CB Distillery for their commitment to quality. That's why they have over 2 million satisfied customers and offer a 100% money-back guarantee. So they back the product up. So if you're still struggling with sleep, stress, or other health concern, maybe it's time to try some CBD products. That's CBD from CB Distillery. Not only are their prices great by themselves, but I can sweeten the deal for you. We have our own discount code here. We got a 20% discount to get you started. So visit cbdistillery.com and use code DD for 20% off. That's cbdistillery.com, code DD. So it's not 2 Ds in the website, cbdistillery.com, 20% off your purchase. That is a QR code that takes you right there to the shop. Check it out. You'll love it. I've been using CBD for 4 years now. Like I said, I started using it for interrupted sleep, and it works for stress. It sometimes works for pain relief, muscle tightness. They have balms. They have oils. Check out cbdistillery.com. DD for 20% off your purchase. All right. Russell, you can come back in. Thank you for that. Jake, thanks for helping with that. Appreciate that very much. Where'd he go? Yeah, there you are. How'd I do?
I'm bringing it. You did good.
Russell's
man.
got a date. Russell's he has to start checking that out.
Yeah,
Russell's a pretty mellow guy.
But yeah.
After the show, I'm gonna rub it all over my body.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm gonna play the William Tell overture.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. There you go. So thanks CB Distillery for partnering with us. I started using it in 2021. Right as the lockdowns were ending, all of a sudden out of nowhere, I couldn't sleep through the night. I don't know if the stress of getting back to real life was bothering me. And, it's right when we were starting to go back to work and do things again for the first time. And for some reason, I would wake up every single night without fail. Like 1 a.m, I would just wake up and I would stay up and I would toss and turn for hours. Like I wouldn't get good sleep past 1 a.m. And then my uncle said, try this out. And so I did. And it worked for me. So hopefully it works for you guys. Check it out. And seriously, obviously I said it in the ad, but it really is. The prices on that store are terrific. It can be expensive. Like at my health food store, the least expensive vial you can get is $40 for 300 milligrams. So you're getting 500 milligrams for $35. That's an unbelievable deal. That's a great deal. All right. It's a great deal. You got to buy it. Don't be a loser. Buy cbdistillery.com. Okay.
All right. Yeah, no, they sent it to me. Look, I'm prone to, you tell me there's no like THC in it, but I'm prone to marijuana dysphoria. So I don't know if I would have
the first time I ever took it, I felt instantly a bit calmer, but I don't take to marijuana well. I've smoked marijuana a handful of times in my life. I do not like it. So if it gave you that kind of sensation, I wouldn't do this kind of partnership because I wouldn't like the product. But as someone who does not enjoy the sensation of like being high off marijuana, I could tell you it's not like that. Yeah, it's not like that.
We should get high.
Yeah. Well, you meditate. I think you would like it because you meditate. You like that nice subtle chill, And
no,
so,
I think me and you should get high.
Oh yeah.
I think I go up to Buffalo. We do a live show. We get fucking baked
and
do the show.
Yeah, 5-hour show. Yeah, never ends, never stops. Yeah.
Let's try to do. Let's invite people for like a politics show, and then do like Waiting for Godot stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Killer Hitton says, speaking of the Bills, ever seen Buffalo 66? Its use of Heart of the Sunrise is arguably the greatest marriage of music and moving image ever. Long live Scott Wood. I have not seen Buffalo 66 actually, so I do not know that. But thank you, Killer Hitton. While the West has become more and more authoritarian and dystopian, the kids are discovering China and the much better quality of life there. The empire is losing the narrative. Absolutely.
Yeah, you know what's funny, man? This is in Harlem. I should have taken a picture of it. They got an ad in the bus station for Shanghai.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like one of the bus stops, they had a big ad for Shanghai. Freaking Harlem.
Oh yeah. Wow. That's interesting. Abiding, imagining Manigot while eating grilled cheese off the radiator. One must abandon peasant mind. Lee Strasberg. Yeah, that's right. Good one. I Am the Owl says, it's time we take back the term chud. Instead of a derogatory label for right-wingers, we shall use it as a term of endearment for ourselves. Proud DD Chuds here, the best sausage fest on the internet. Well, thank you. Thank you, I Am the Owl. Appreciate that very much. Okay. Meme Coin Million, thanks for the $9.99 over on YouTube. Just made money on stupid coin, decided to donate. Well, thank you. Voyager and Palantir is literally making Skynet. What a time to be alive. Also, we need another Pelosi. Who am I going to go for stock tips? There you go. Good one. Glenn DeVries, thanks for the $10, says, so glad to be here for another episode of Two Jews in Yesterday's News. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. All right. What do we got next over here? Let's see. All right. We got an immigration story coming up next for you all. Okay. So here is Borders Are, Tom Homan, answering some questions on ABC this week about deportations, not just in the short term, but the long term. Are we going to have deportation flights every single day? Yes. So here is some of Borders Are, Tom Homan.
Go back to those military flights going south. As you said, we have never seen that before. Is that going to be a constant commitment from the U.S. military every single day to take deportees out?
Yes.
So is this what we will see every single day, ending in what the president has promised is millions and millions being deported?
Yes. But you can see the numbers steadily increase, the number of arrests nationwide as we open up the aperture. Right now it's concentrating public safety threats, national security threats. That's a smaller population. So we're going to do this on priority base, as President Trump's promised, but as that aperture opens, there'll be more arrests nationwide.
When you talk about the aperture opening, the estimates of perhaps those who have been convicted or arrested in the past, 700,000 to over 1 million. So after you do that, then you go after everybody who is there illegally.
If you're in the country illegally, you're on the table, because it's not okay to violate laws of this country. You got to remember, every time you enter this country illegally, you violated a crime under Title 8, United States Code 1325. It's a crime. So if you're in the country illegally, you got a problem. And that's why I'm hoping those who are in the country illegally who have not been ordered removed by the federal judge should leave.
Not much bedside manner there from Tom Homan. This guy is not in the hospice business. I can tell you that. Tell you that. No.
I think they hired
this guy.
Yeah, they hired him for that quality, I think.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they want. That's part of how he got the job.
Right. No, I'm sure they wanted somebody who's just completely unshakable in their lack of empathy for anyone. Right. This way, no matter what they say to you, no matter what images they put up on the screen of people crying and babies being dragged out of apartments, you stay on script. Well, you can see this is having an effect here, obviously. POV, that one construction guy with citizenship after ICE raid. So this is from a Tony comedy channel on Facebook. This is a comedic interpretation of what work sites are like across America now that the changing of the guards has been implemented.
Hey, what's going on, pal? I'm at the yard, and nobody's here. Nobody came in. Yeah, these guys are really fucking shaking up over here. All the excavators are shutting off right now. Yeah, no one's turning them on because, no one's here. I don't know if you realize this, but everybody here was undocumented. To be honest with you, I was thinking about it, and if you want me to continue working, I'm going to need a raise. I'm looking for $200 an hour. It is what it is, Frankie. You want me to operate the fucking machine? This is what it costs.
There you go. That's right. That's right. Workers getting their leverage back, right? Well, that's in comedy world. In real life, Central Valley farm workers scared to show up to work for deportation fear. So this was a report that came out on NBC San Diego before January 20th. You were already seeing workers not show up to harvest the citrus because they were afraid of what was going to happen during that week of transition.
The citrus harvest season in Kern County right now, but the industry... It's the peak of the citrus harvest season in Kern County right now, but the industry is taking a hit after immigration agents conducted several operations last week targeting undocumented immigrants with criminal records. The California Farm Bureau reports that the action made some ag workers too afraid to show up for work, bringing the area's citrus harvest to a virtual halt.
Definitely, we are certainly very concerned about what is happening and how that is unfolding.
The Monterey County Farm Bureau says it is keeping a close eye on the developments in the Central Valley. Harvest season in the Salinas Valley begins in late April. The Farm Bureau says just the threat of deportations could be enough to deter many of the 55,000 migrant workers the valley needs to operate during harvest season.
They're not going to show up for work, and that means crops will remain in the field and not be harvested and probably lost at that point.
The Farm Bureau says that could lead to higher food prices.
They were called essential workers during the pandemic when our nation needed them, and now they are asking us to be there for them when they need us.
The Farm Bureau joined Monterey County leaders on Wednesday to pledge to do what they can to protect workers and their families.
Con instrucciones precisas de nuestra presidenta Claudia Sheinbaum.
The Mexican Consul General says consulates across the country have a direct order from the President of Mexico to assure the basic rights of undocumented immigrants aren't violated.
Our growers remain concerned with what is occurring in other counties.
An industry watching closely what happens after Monday, both in the fields and in the produce aisle.
All right. In the middle of the country, Chicago, people are hiding. Immigrants stay home from work to avoid potential ICE arrest. This published January 21st, the day after Trump took office, of course, When reports surfaced over the weekend that mass deportations could potentially begin in the Chicago area Tuesday, Martin Ramos informed his boss that he was taking off from work, stocked up on groceries, and decided his kids would skip soccer practice this week. Ramos, who emigrated from Guadalajara, Mexico, without the necessary work permits, spent the first full day of Donald Trump's second presidency hunkered down with his family and trying to avoid being picked up by ICE agents. An arrest he knows would destroy everything he and his wife worked for and force their two boys into an uncertain future. Quote, "We have to do everything possible to keep our children safe," Ramos told the Chicago Tribune. "What will they do if we get deported?" ICE agents did not show up at the Joliet, how do you say that? Joliet factory, where Ramos and his wife both worked Tuesday. But the fear inflicted upon employees there was evident. A co-worker told Ramos that only 10 out of the typical 40 to 50 workers showed up. In Little Village, one of Chicago's largest Mexican immigrant communities, streets were mostly deserted and quiet. Tamale vendors, a hardy group used to braving all kinds of weather, weren't lined up on the sidewalks. The hardware store parking lots, where day laborers searched for work, also were largely empty. The possibility of mass deportations has terrified the area's roughly 400,000 undocumented immigrants, prompting many to skip work, keep their kids out of school, and stay hidden until the promised raids end. Their trepidation only deepened Tuesday when the Trump administration announced it would permit agents to make arrests at schools and churches. Quote, "All we can do is take all precautions possible and stay home as long as we can," Ramos said. Sunday Mass at St. Agnes of Bohemia Catholic Church was unusually empty, and this is someone who was quoted earlier in the article. Sorry about that. I should have gotten the name. And she personally advised a group of street vendors based on the southwest side to stay home during the week until they learn how ICE will operate. Out of 13 street vendors, only one told her that she couldn't stay home because she depends on the money she earns each day to feed her family and pay rent. Oh, this was one of the vendors at the market. Most vendors declined to speak to the Tribune out of fear that they could be identified and targeted by federal immigration officials. So here in the New York metro area, Newark, New Jersey, a fish market was raided by ICE. So those in the New York area certainly heard about this. This was huge news. And I happen to know of someone. I don't know the person. I know of them. I don't know nothing about nobody specifically. Don't ask me nothing about that. I don't know nothing. But I know that ICE agents were lined up outside buses that were commuter buses going into New York City. And I know of people who had to turn around and go home and not go into work that day. Newark fish wholesaler Ocean Seafood Depot was raided yesterday by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, allegedly without a warrant, according to reports. Both undocumented workers and U.S. citizens were detained, the agency and the mayor's office confirmed. The raid comes following President Donald Trump's promise to crack down on immigration and deport millions of undocumented immigrants. The business in the iron-bound neighborhood comes from owners Luis and Bella Giannata, who founded the seafood wholesaler in 1998, according to its website. Luis Giannata said in reports that 10 or 12 ICE agents visited after receiving complaints, quote-unquote, and were looking for documentation. The federal raid surprised the owners, who told ABC News that agents asked for documentation for 3 workers. Giannata told New York Pix 11 that agents were searching for a license or passport, according to New York Pix 11. "I thought, who walks around with a passport?" he said. When they couldn't provide it, ICE took them into custody. It hasn't been reported yet why ICE targeted the employees. News outlets have reported that both U.S. citizens and undocumented people were detained, as the Newark mayor's office confirmed in a statement. One of the detainees is a U.S. military veteran who suffered the indignity of having the legitimacy of his military documentation questioned, said Newark Mayor Ross J. Baraka, who is a Democrat. Giannata told Pix 11 that it appeared ICE was going after, quote, certain kinds of people, not every kind, because they did not ask me for documentation for my American workers, Portuguese workers, or white workers. The military veteran asked for his documentation is Puerto Rican, he told the news outlet. So here is a video from ABC NY. They posted this to their TikTok channel, which gives you a summary of these events as well as some video of the raid itself.
Raid at Ocean Seafood Depot in Newark's Ironbound section caught its owner by surprise. He tells us agents asked for documentation for 3 workers and took them into custody when they couldn't provide it.
I feel that we have to be a country with law, but go after bad people, not working people. These are family people. These are people that show up to work every day.
No word tonight from ICE or Homeland Security as to why these individuals were detained. But this has infuriated local officials. Newark Congresswoman LaMonica McIver in a statement tonight says she's reached out to the Department of Homeland Security to get answers on exactly what happened and how it was allowed that ICE came in without a warrant and without justification to detain not only immigrants but citizens and even a veteran of our nation's military. Newark's Mayor Ross Baraka says that veteran suffered the indignity of having the legitimacy of his military documentation questioned, calling it egregious and in violation of the Fourth Amendment. And he insists the proper warrant was not presented.
They can't go into private locations without a warrant that's been approved by a judge. So when the mayor says that this was without a warrant, that is a serious concern.
NYU law professor Ryan Goodman says ICE can detain people on a public sidewalk.
But if it's a private part of the business or it's the back rooms in the business where the workers are, they're not without a warrant.
New Jersey Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman also taking issue with the detention of the military vet here, slamming President Trump tonight and saying this is the reality of Trump's reign of terror. But it's not the America generations have fought for.
Well, I mean, it might not be the America generations have fought for, but it is the America that this generation voted for. So you could see here from Mike Roy, CNN, forced to report the support for mass deportations is overwhelmingly popular. Now, this guy doesn't have the on-air chops that Steve Kornacki does, so we're not going to watch this video. All we need to see are the numbers, which speak for themselves. So deport all immigrants here illegally. An ABC poll asked about undocumented migrants. Multiple choice. New York Times, 55%. Marquette, 64%. CBS, 57%. ABC News, 56% of those asked say deport all immigrants here illegally. And if you look at the trend line here, look at the difference between 2015 and 2016 when Trump first won and now. That is a liberal class and a liberal project that has completely lost control of this issue. Completely lost control of this issue.
Just to interject, it's not just here. I was watching another, I think it was also a CNN segment, where they were showing how, I think even 4 years ago, 50% of Republicans said it was important to know DEI policies at a corporation. That's collapsed down to, I think, in the 20s. I think something like 21%. It is a total collapse in the liberal project and its ability to sell its ideas to the public. They've had a negative impact on public opinion on these issues.
Yeah, and I mean, these numbers are absolutely startling in America, but it's not just, I didn't just say the Democratic Party, worldwide. But look at that, a 20% increase in support for deporting all undocumented immigrants. That is why Donald Trump feels like he has the wind at his back. That's why he feels he can get away with stuff like this. They say in this video that this is why Donald Trump feels empowered to be as broad and sweeping with these immigration efforts as they obviously are. We started this segment listening to Tom Homan saying, it's going to start with the criminals and then broaden out to everyone. Apparently, they're not even just starting with the criminals. I don't know what this was, but if they did not have a warrant to go into a private business, that's a big problem unless you're coming in during your honeymoon period when you have that kind of public support on this issue. The question is what the economic impact of this is going to be, what Americans' emotional fortitude is for seeing and listening to stories about parents hunkering down with their kids, hiding from people, not wanting to get deported, not wanting to get separated from their child if they are deported. And think of the fear in a person. Think of how dreadful the fear is of deportation, that you would rather leave your kid here without you than take him back with you if you're deported. Because what that father said was, I don't know what will become of my family if we're deported. The implication is that I'd rather leave my kids here and be separated from them, potentially for life, than bring them back with me because of God knows what he'd be going back to. So it's a horrible situation. I think anyone with a beating heart understands it's a horrible situation. And it is a problem that both parties have really caused over the years. This is not a solution that I endorse, but this is a solution that was voted for, and voted for in overwhelming numbers. And people did not vote for Trump despite this issue. They voted for Trump largely because of this issue. And I think that's a very sad thing. I think it's a very sad thing that it's gotten to this point. And I do think this has to be resisted in some way, but it's very bleak. It's very bleak. And the reason it's bleak is because the liberals have not come up with a response that is politically sellable. No matter what you say, there's always going to be a hardened group of people who say, well, if they broke the law coming in, we don't owe them due process. We don't owe them any sort of trial period, right? The Lake and Riley Act, you can be arrested, not be charged, but arrested. How many times do you get arrested for something and not been charged? My father's been arrested dozens of times in his life. I think he's only been charged with, he was charged with trespassing a skateboard shop once. But other than that, he's been arrested a bunch of times for shit and let go. An arrest without a charge can get you deported now under this Lake and Riley Act. So I want to be very, very clear morally and politically that I don't endorse this. However, it is very difficult to think of a way out because our camp, broadly speaking, has completely failed on this issue. Just like when we had Greg Foreman on the Jimmy Dore show, and he said, you know what? In principle, I'm for free market. In principle, yeah, I want everybody to pay for their own private health care. But I have to admit, this is a situation where my principles and reality are kind of at odds. The right really has lost a lot of credibility on this issue. I feel the same way on this. Like, my politics and my principles tell me what's going on here is terrible, but I don't have an answer for it. We have been completely left out in the woods by the Democratic Party and the liberal class more broadly.
All right. This is the day that a lot of people have warned about. If the left did not formulate an answer on immigration other than calling people racists and bigots, that this day was going to come, that they were going to empower politicians who were going to offer to throw everybody out, and then they would proceed to do so. So yes, this is a result of the left never having found a meaningful answer to the question of immigration. That having been said, if you go to countries in Europe generally, yeah, there's a certain level of illegal immigration. Not much. Not like this. Not like we have here. It's not like we're the barbarians and they're no. Most countries do not allow mass numbers of illegal immigrants because, as Solomon says, it's against the law. It's by definition, it's against the law. Like, what obligation does a country have to take people in who came into the country illegally? We are the outlier in having a relatively open system. Now, the reason for that has never been humanitarian. It's because unlike these social democratic states, we don't give anything to the people here. So in the end, we're making money off illegal immigrants paying taxes because we don't give much back. You don't have universal health care here. You don't have free college here. You don't have all of these social democratic supports that taxpayers would be entitled to in Europe. So for us, having that cheap labor force has always been worthwhile. It's never been a question of humanitarian impulse. It's It's always been
Yeah.
to exploit these people. And if you even see the arguments the liberal class makes, which a lot of conservatives will point out, rightly so, a lot of their arguments boil down to, well, if we don't have this cheap labor, we're going to have to pay more for lettuce. It's not a very left-wing argument. Well, what are we going to do without the cheap labor to exploit?
Well, not only that, you have. Sorry, go ahead.
But the fact is, we did let all these people in to exploit them in a way that countries with more generous social benefits do not. So now these people have been de facto let in to the country and allowed to establish lives here. So the question is, if you want to say that was a wrong-headed and exploitative policy, I would agree with you. I think that's something the left and the right can agree on. Yeah, this was terrible. These people were let in here to exploit them for cheap labor to keep the lettuce prices down, to keep the restaurant prices down. Sure, that's terrible. Now they're here. Like, you can't entirely blame them for the fact that the United States turned a blind eye to illegal immigration in order to exploit the immigrants. So vilifying them as if, well, they broke the law. Well, we kind of let them break the law. Come on, man. Come on. As I've said many times, and this is something our friends on the right, I think, have agreed with me on, I never accepted the idea that we could not close the border. We have the world's largest military. The idea that we could not stop people from entering our southern border was always ridiculous to me on the face of it. Look, Trump just got into office. What did he do? He sent the troops to the border. He's essentially cut off immigration through the southern border. I said it could be done. He did it almost right away. So at that point, you have to acknowledge the government pretty much let them come in because we needed the cheap labor. So now, do you have no obligation to acknowledge that aspect of the situation and to try to go a little more on a case-by-case basis rather than to throw everybody out of the country? Now, my final point on this is just the politics and the reality of it. What will be the result? Nobody knows. Nobody really knows. This has never been done. If you remove this number of immigrants, it could go a lot of different ways. Yeah, rent may get cheaper. And certainly in certain cities that have a lot of illegal immigrants, rent might get cheaper. It might not. It might not. Look, New York is losing people at a faster rate than any other state in the country, and the rents keep hitting record highs. There's a lot of market manipulation going on here. You got a lot of venture capital involved in setting prices. So that won't market forces aren't necessarily working anymore. But let's say they do. You could have a drop in rent. You could, with lower demand, you could have lower demand for buying houses. You could get a drop in housing prices. You could get an increase in wages. People on the other side would argue these immigrants pay taxes. You're going to lose that tax base. These immigrants spend money in the communities they live in. You're going to lose that business. These businesses in the end are going to make less money. It could go that way too. The truth is, nobody really knows. But I will say this. If rent drops, if the price of buying a house drops and wages go up, Trumpism as far as the eye could see. The next Democrat is going to run as Donald Trump. And at that point, Donald Trump will be running as Francisco Franco, or his successor will be.
Well, the Democrats already did basically cede this issue to Trump in this election. His position really has become the center on this. The one thing I would add, which is what I was going to add earlier, is that we not only did we let them in, we invited them in. We actively invited them in many cases by making their home countries unlivable, overthrowing governments, throwing countries into gang rule, making countries south of the border extremely dangerous for ordinary people to live in. We did that, of course, in order to maintain economic dominance in the Western Hemisphere. And it is a known fact by now, no Western power, whether it's us or, whether it's European countries, no one can claim ignorance of the fact that when you destabilize countries, you create migration crises, right? In Europe, that happens as a result of the bombing campaigns against Middle Eastern countries. That's why they have a lot of Muslim refugees slash migrants, right? And here, it's as a result of economic sanctions, and in some cases, CIA and military coups, many cases, CIA and military coups of these countries in South and Central America. And so we not only let people in, we instigated a migration crisis. And all of this results in a massive funneling of wealth to the top between the economic dominance that comes with turning South and Central American countries into plantations for the United States, and then the influx of cheap labor for the ownership class here. It's all a massive transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich, not just the American poor, but the Mexican poor and the South and Central American poor. And so it is all designed to make the rich richer and to divide the poor against each other while immiserating them. That's why I do think you have to have some degree of not only do we have some responsibility to these people, but I do think we should have some solidarity with them as well. And that is where it becomes a very, very difficult to impossible political problem, because in the meantime, you can absolutely make the case that they were invited in by American oligarchs in order to enrich the oligarchs at the expense of the American workers, right? And so how is that solvable? It's a perfect trap. This is the issue. You could not design an issue that better serves the interests of the rich than what we have done here with immigration and the geopolitics of the Western Hemisphere more broadly. It's an extremely complicated and difficult issue. That's why I want to cover this as much as we want to cover this in the Trump era, because this issue was not talked about this past year. There was no conversation about this at all because the Democrats just punted. They just gave the issue to Donald Trump, right? They tried to get as far to the right on this issue as they could for good reason. Look at these poll numbers, right? Look at the trends on this issue, right? Any party would who wants to win, but this is now an issue that is really, really a tough nut to crack moving forward. It really is.
If I had to guess, you showed that citrus farm segment. Yeah, they can't have that. They're going to go to expanded guest worker program in agriculture. There are certain jobs, like, honestly, I'm watching that about the fish market in Newark. Newark's really poor, man. You can't get people in Newark who will do that job, honestly, setting everything else aside. Like, you can't get people who will do that locally. But when you're talking about working in the fields like that, no, you're not going to be able to replace the total workforce working agriculture with American workers. It's not going to be possible.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be possible either. I don't. And that's why we'll see. That's why I wanted to show these poll numbers, because we'll see if they move. We'll see if they move. You know, if the economics of this make what they're saying they're going to do undoable, which they absolutely could. Like, it could just prove to be a problem that can't be solved the way they're saying they're going to try and go about solving it.
I think these are early days. They haven't run into the downsides yet, and certainly the public hasn't felt the downsides. Right now, it's just, yeah, get them out. They haven't dealt with literally the farmers being bankrupted by the crops rotting in the fields.
Right. And what if, developers don't want to pay Americans market rate to do the work? Like, this is the other part of it. You can't just assume that every undocumented worker is going to be replaced by an American worker at a higher wage. Now, that might happen in some cases. I'm sure it will happen in some cases. But we just ran this experiment coming out of the pandemic of what these corporations will do when faced with the option: do we bring people back to work at a higher wage, or do we just choose to choke supply and charge more for the supply that we do generate, which is less than normal? We got our answer. that's what created this. That's a lot of what created this inflation in the first place.
Right.
So that's a pretty recent example of what they'll do when faced with that choice. At that point, how hard does the government lean on them to choose differently? There's a lot of questions to be, left answered. And this is what creates a very, very volatile political situation, because this can be a major disruptor to the economic sort of status quo. And there could be, as Russ said, certain benefits. There could also be major drawbacks, and we'll see how it goes. You don't really know at this point.
Both. It could be both.
It could be both.
And probably will be. There'll probably be up and down sides.
Yes, and it'll probably depend on who, on where you live.
It'll partly be regional, exactly.
Right, it'll be regional, right? Yeah, I think so. All right, folks, let's have a word from Rumble Premium, shall we? So this sponsorship is from Rumble, and it's one that's incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Rumble did not cave, however. They held the line, and they're attacked daily for giving shows like us a voice to talk to audiences like you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France. They're attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech, but thankfully Rumble is fighting to preserve it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers because they don't get much of them. So watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in the fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. So join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription of Rumble Premium, which is, of course, the ad-free version of the Rumble platform. So go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now's the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we are, of course, just happy if you watch us on the platform. All right. Thank you very much for that. And Jake, why don't we throw up our patron supporter scroll, please? And thank you very much if you got that. Let's see. Do you have that one open? Let's see. We're going to go right to that. Yes, because I think we're going to go to the supporter scroll when you get a chance. Thanks very much. Sorry, just got to orient this here. So, folks, if you like what we do here and you want to help us do more of it, the best way you can support this show is by becoming a member. So we've got a Patreon, we've got a Substack, but it's a big night for Rumble, 3,800 in the Rumble chat, which means we really want to encourage you to sign up for Locals. Go to dudissidents.locals.com. That's the link for all you YouTubers. If you're watching on Rumble now, you can join our Locals by clicking that bright red join button underneath the video player. Membership is just $5 a month. It gets you a spot on the show credits and the show scroll. It also gets you call-in access to our post-show Q&As, which happen every Sunday night exclusively on Rumble. Of course, tonight is Sunday. We will be going over to Rumble for one final segment of the show in addition to the Q&A. We are going to do the Lab Leak story over there on Rumble. So we are going to be switching over, not shortly, but as the night goes on. But that's one of the perks. You get call-in access to that Q&A where you get to call and be a part of the show. You also get access to bonus streams, supporter live streams, which include regular format live streams, just like this one, where we do about an hour's worth of content and then take about an hour's worth of viewer calls. We also have movie club nights. So this week, sorry, we had to kind of push them both to the very end of the month this week because we were hosting the Jimmy Dore show and we did literally have not a night free for the first 2 weeks of the month. And so everything's happening.
Intense, man.
Yes. And so everything's happening at once this week. We are having a matinee supporter live stream tomorrow at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. is an exclusive live stream just for paid members. So we will see you at 2 o'clock tomorrow. The way it works is you get a link emailed to you through Patreon, Substack, or Locals, and then that link takes you to the live stream where you, of course, can not only watch the show, but we send you a call-in link as well. So you'll have call-in access. You also get pre-recorded, a live stream access, to all of our pre-recorded full-length interviews. We are starting to book our interview schedule again, so keep an eye out for that. But the best way to support this show and to censor-proof our operation is to sign up at our Locals, dudissidents.locals.com, or, like I said, if you're watching on Rumble, that bright red join button underneath the screen. Please and thank you so much for your support. All right.
So some housekeeping. I'm saying with the Twitter, this is the first time in a while, we've probably hit the 6,666.
Oh, yeah, with the Twitter we have. That's true. With the Twitter. Good call. Good call.
And did we give him a 25-25?
No, we did not, actually. We have that now.
25-25.
Beautiful. Way past that. And we're at 666 likes pretty easily on YouTube. Hitting all those milestones tonight. Thanks, everybody, very much for helping us make that happen. Jessica May, thanks for the $4.99. If you had to string together 5 code words to set off the War Room Posse, AI, gene sequencing, mRNA vaccines, Bannon. Oh, yeah, there you go. Janice Anderson, thanks for the $4.99. Ever notice these rich psychopaths can't speak in full and complete sentences? Yes, thank you, Janice Anderson. Appreciate that very much. They are very unimpressive. Yes, Larry Ellison, quite the unimpressive speaker there, I would say. Yeah, DC says, good catch, Keaton. Oh, on the Heather Heyer thing? Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
I was like, what the fuck?
Now that's how you get sued.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck did he say? I said, where the hell did that come from? Because I knew the name. I'm like, where did that come from? Because I didn't know his wife was Heather Heyer.
I mean, I was very close. In my defense.
Yeah, that's true. It was an understandable mistake. It's not like it came out of nowhere. Yeah. Fun Bad, thanks for the $2. Do you think RFK Jr. is going to rebel or fall in line?
Fall in line.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, like I said in the segment, I think they are under orders to not say anything until their confirmation hearings. You notice you haven't heard a peep from Tulsi about anything. You didn't really hear anything from Hegseth until before his confirmation. Bondi, they've all been very, very quiet. They're all told, don't say anything until you're in. So we'll see what happens. My guess is that he won't. My guess is that he's gonna really try and
be a team player.
Well, not just be a team player.
They made him eat freaking McDonald's, man.
Well, that's the thing.
All you need to know.
I think his emphasis is gonna be a lot on the food regulation stuff more than this other stuff. That's what I think.
Probably. Which I gotta say, and I've said many times, I would welcome that. If you look at the food labels in America versus other countries, it's a disgrace. It's a big part of why we're so unhealthy and fat in this country.
Right. Yeah.
Everyone who comes here from another country is like, it's impossible not to gain weight because of what they put in the food.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where he's going to put a lot of emphasis. John N, thanks for the $2. 90%. You sound like a goddamn communist. Just kidding. Love from Florida. Thank you, John N. Appreciate that. Did Zuck tell Trump to move fast and break things? Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That's their ethos, and that seems to be I mean, look, this incarnation of the Trump campaign, very, very tech oriented. That was a major push. That's a major reason why he won, and this is the result.
Mm-hmm.
The Skynet funding bill is passed. Human decisions are removed from strategic defense. Skynet begins to learn at a geometric rate. It becomes self-aware. In a panic, they try to pull the plug.
Yeah, we're already past the date in the movie, right?
Yeah. What is the date in the movie?
I saw people like sharing memes when we hit the date that Skynet was supposed to go live.
Yeah. What was the date? Does anybody know in the chat?
I mean, some of our dorks are going to know, man.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's go to some Rumble rants over here. Eric Rousseau, AI sex doll, good thing or bad thing? Hey, I mean, I think that's where a good example of letting the market decide, I would say. Doc Durkin, can we get Elon to mud wrestle Bill Gates? I'll settle for the AI version.
We're way past. Okay. So Skynet becomes self-aware August 29th, 2024.
Oh, really?
That's what it says.
Wow. Okay. So then we're way past that. All right. Very cool. All right, folks. Let's take one more, then we'll do our Hollywood segment. I used to work at Oracle. I'd prefer 10 Elons to one Larry Ellison, not defending Elon. Also, Altman is a sketchy fella as well. OpenAI whistleblower was recently Boeing. Yep.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, Tucker interviewed the mother.
Yeah, that does not look good. Believe me, not good. All right, let's move on. We got Hollywood.
Oh, I thought you had another part of the immigration.
Well, I'll probably move that. We're running at 2 hours already. We got plenty of show.
Okay, so hooray for Hollywood.
First image.
All right, so Sly Stallone here, you might remember, gave a speech before the election at Mar-a-Lago talking about how Rocky had opened with this Jesus image to represent the journey he'd go on and comparing it to Trump's journey. As they say in Hollywood, that's how you get a job.
Was a picture of Jesus. It says Resurrection AC Club. I found a church that had been converted to a boxing ring. So the image pans down from Jesus onto Rocky being hit. And at that moment, he was a chosen person. And that's how I began the journey. Something was going to happen. This man was going to go through a metamorphosis and change lives, just like President Trump. We are in the presence of a really mythical character. I love mythology. And this individual does not exist on this planet. Nobody in the world could have pulled off what he pulled off, so I'm in awe. And I'll just say this, and I mean it. When George Washington defended his country, he had no idea that he was going to change the world. Because without him, you can imagine what the world would look like. Guess what? We got the second George Washington. Congratulations!
But why, Rocky? Why are you backing Trump? Because I'm scared, all right? I'm scared.
Yeah, I'm scared. Yeah.
I'm scared of the New World Order, Adrian. So he got himself a gig out of that speech. Trump named Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, and John Voight as special ambassadors to the White Boy 5-part harmony group. They will bring the lost business back to Hollywood, according to Donald Trump. He announced this with much fanfare through his usual means of communication, Truth Social. It is my honor to announce John Voight, Mel Gibson, and Sylvester Stallone to be special ambassadors to a great but very troubled place, Hollywood, California. They will serve as special envoys to me for the purpose of bringing Hollywood, which has lost much business over the last 4 years to foreign countries, back, bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. These three very talented people will be my eyes and ears, and I will get done what they suggest. It will again be like the United States of America itself, the golden age of Hollywood. Well, this is quite a wrecking crew of on their last legs old white dudes he put together to restore the golden age of Hollywood. I mean, he should have at least asked Morgan Freeman for the optics.
Yeah, this is like that movie that Clint Eastwood made. What was it? Space Cowboys? With Tommy Lee Jones and yeah.
or kind of like Unforgiven,
right?
All right, so John Voight of Midnight Cowboy fame. I actually still like that movie. Hard to believe it's the same guy. So John Voight gave a little speech in honor of his appointing to this commission.
My fellow Americans, I'm so proud and happy that we have won the victory, and Donald J. Trump is our 47th president. But my friends, I'm here to tell you about Elon Musk, a man of dignity, a man of truth, a man of honor, who has done a lot for this country and the people of this USA. He's a kind soul, a gentle giant, and he loves America. And I want to tell you that the media is a disgrace. They're disgusting. They turn things around. They try to destroy and cause havoc. This, my friends, is dangerous compared to say Elon Musk is Hitler. I come here to bring you truths, that God is my witness, that Elon Musk is being targeted for no reason, and this false propaganda will stop now. There have been many people who put their arms up. We, the people, must stand up for our truth and remember that the media and the left tried to destroy President Trump and now Elon Musk. But this won't happen because Elon's goodwill for the Jews and for the United States of America will be stronger than this evil. Elon is humble, and he will stand with America and help make this nation stronger with his knowledge and his love. Elon, we love you. God bless.
I'm sure Elon really needed that.
Elon was sitting there in his $5 billion home saying, when is that washed up old guy from Midnight Cowboy gonna say something about this?
When is
I
that
really liked him in Ray Donovan.
Yeah.
So that gives you a taste of who's coming to save Hollywood here. But best of all was Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson, who, listen, if you're see, this is where they're sending out very, very mixed signals, because look, if I'm really, to be honest, in my heart of hearts, what do I think? I think most of these guys are Jew haters, but I think they really like Zionist money. So that's why you get all of these mixed signals, where on the one hand, they'll let Israel do whatever they want to do, and on the other hand, they'll appoint freaking Mel Gibson, who famously went on a anti-Semitic tirade, and who many Jewish actors say has approached them and asked them if they're an oven dodger. Why would you grab this guy? There are a lot of washed up old actors, if you want to just pretend the last 50 years didn't happen, that you could appoint to this. If you're not trying to send a signal to Stormfront, hey, I'm with you guys, but we really don't like those Arabs either. So, hey, we're good. We're good. Why would you grab Mel Gibson? So Mel very quickly reminded people why South Park was inspired to portray him wearing a fruit hat and singing Mama Quiero. Their portrayal of Mel Gibson. He's a kooky guy.
They're a good bunch out here. I'm glad Trump's here at the moment. It's like Daddy arrived and he's taking his belt off, So I think.
To be fair, I just want to be fair. I mean, it doesn't make it any less funny. It's still fucking funny. I think what he was talking about there is Trump is here, meaning out in L.A. to
I
give
get
the
it.
Democrats a hard time about the fire response, which is warranted. So, I get it, but still, I mean, that is fucking funny.
But A, it's coming from Mel, and B, he famously has some pretty serious daddy issues. So
play that one more time. I want to see that one more time. It's too short
again?
to only play once. Yeah. One more time.
Okay, doc.
They're a good bunch out here. I'm glad Trump's here at the moment. It's like Daddy arrived and he's taking his belt off, So I think
he seems very excited about that. So some of the reactions were priceless. This is taking the phrase daddy issues to a whole new level.
Oh, God.
Somebody made a helpful chart here. The relationship between how homophobic someone is versus how gay the shit they say is. You got the homoerotica.
Hey, I'm glad this is catching on.
Homophobia. On the
so, hey, look, there are a lot of people.
And MAGA right at the intersection of the two.
Look, there are a lot of people who are, right before anyone else is right. Our friend
You're a
Jimmy has been
trailblazer.
ahead of the curve on a lot of things. Nick from RBN ahead of the curve on a lot of things. I'm usually a little more conservative in my predictions and a little bit, perhaps to a fault, sort of hesitant to get out in front of something big like this. But I will say, I was really the first one to identify the homoerotic undertones of MAGA, and now that's basically mainstream. So this one, I finally can say I was first on this. I think I could fairly say I was first on this.
I mean, look, let's take a look again, because yes, he may have been explaining the situation in California, but I think you can see a little thrill in his eyes at the idea of Daddy taking his belt off at the end. What?
They're a good bunch out here. I'm glad Trump's here at the moment. It's like Daddy arrived and he's taking his belt off. So
I mean, he seems a little excited. I'm sorry, a little mischievous twinkle in the eye there at the idea of Daddy with his belt. Mel Gibson fantasizing about getting spanked by Trump is really not something I needed tonight. So now this is part of what's funny about it. I was talking to Keaton about it, and he does remember this. I thought he wouldn't, but yeah, Mel Gibson. This was a big point when all this stuff blew up about the anti-Semitic rant with the cops and all this. People started delving into his father, who's a member of a kind of Catholic sect that rejects Vatican II, like one of those Opus Dei kind of things.
Conceivable that they think I could be the next goose-stepping maniac to come into their neighborhood. I don't know.
But for several years, there has been one other question that has plagued him. The fact that his father, Hutton Gibson, has famously publicly expressed doubts that 6 million Jews were really murdered in the Holocaust.
And the last time I went down this trail,
I bit your head off.
It was 3 years ago in an interview. Mel Gibson began by telling us he does believe 6 million Jews were murdered.
It was an atrocity of monumental proportion.
But when we ask him to repudiate the assertions of his dad...
He's my father. Gotta leave it alone, Diane. Gotta leave it alone.
But I want to go back, because your father has been on the record. This is not an assumption. He has been on the record. Saying things like the Holocaust, quote, mostly fiction, that it's been hyped out of proportion.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about me here right now.
Yeah, no, I would not want to meet that guy in a dark alley. So, but not only that, most people know about the rant with the cops. Lesser known, I actually, until I started researching the segment, I hadn't heard this. So, if for no other reason than this, it's a pretty strange decision to put this guy on this commission. You would think this is the kind of thing you can't come back from. This is him ranting to, I'm not sure if they were married at the time. This is the mother of his children. I believe they were married, but I'm not positive.
Your tight clothes and stuff. I won't stand for that anymore.
I don't walk around. I don't walk to be that. I don't walk around in tight clothes. I stay at home for most of the time.
You go out in public and it's a fucking embarrassment to me. You look like a fucking bitch on heat. And if you get raped by a your fault. All right? Because you provoked it. You are provocatively dressed all the time with your fake boobs you feel you have to show off in tight outfits and tight pants and stuff. You see your pussy from behind. And that green thing today was enough. That's provocative. Okay? I'm telling you. I'm just telling you the truth. I don't like it. I don't want that woman. I don't want you. I don't believe.
Okay. Donald Trump's pick for ambassador to Hollywood. Mr.
Yeah, you
Mel
had never
Gibson,
heard
folks.
that. That's weird.
I had not heard that. I heard the other tape. I never heard this.
No, I heard that. I memorized that in case Amanda said no when I asked her to marry me. I had that. I memorized the word for it. Luckily, I didn't have to use it.
And that is the joke that dropped our female demo from 12 to 8% right there. It appears that the newly appointed ambassadors had little advance notice on the news, as Gibson said he found out at the same time as Trump's social media followers. I got the tweet at the same time as all of you and was just as surprised. Nevertheless, I heed the call. My duty as a citizen is to give any help and insight I can, Gibson said in a statement to Variety. Any chance the position comes with an ambassador's residence. Wouldn't surprise me. Trump's announcement comes 4 days before his inauguration in Washington, D.C., and as wildfires have destroyed thousands of homes and buildings in southern Los Angeles. Many businesses are struggling to recover, and the cost is estimated to be around $250 billion. The domestic box office in 2024 was also down from the year prior, as the Hollywood release calendar took a hit from the 2023 actors and writers strikes. Last year's revenues were $8.7 billion, down 3.3% from 2023 and 23.5% from 2019, the last pre-pandemic year, which reached $11.3 billion. After being blacklisted from Hollywood for years after anti-Semitic comments, Gibson returned by directing the Oscar-winning film Hacksaw Ridge in 2016 and has an upcoming action movie, Flight Risk, starring Mark Wahlberg, out on January 24th. Stallone has recently starred in the Paramount Plus drama Tulsa King and co-wrote and produced the upcoming Jason Statham action movie, Working Man. Voight most recently appeared in Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis and the biopic Reagan, starring Dennis Quaid as President Ronald Reagan. Now, I got to say, with Stallone, this is really not a surprise. I mean, this guy was more Reagan than Reagan. You know, basically his whole filmography in the 80s was refighting the Vietnam War and having, you know, Rocky fight the Cold War. Like, he put all of his characters at the service of Reaganism. You know, Gibson is a total fruitcake. I mean, that's really a very pointed statement to appoint him to something like that. And Voight, you know, I mean, he just strikes me as a real dummy. The problems that Hollywood is having, I do not think are problems that can be fixed by some crew of geriatric space cowboys, as you say, coming in and trying to fix things. I think at this point, they realize that they messed up in terms of pushing a very not only pushing an ideology, but going out of their way to insult potential customers with the assumption that this new young demographic would make up for these conservative voters that they lost as audience members. Problem is, funny thing happened on the way to the box office, changing entertainment and viewing habits. These kids that they thought would come and watch these movies with that kind of an ideological perspective, they're on YouTube, they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram. They're not really watching movies like they used to. People are streaming things. Like, there are problems that you are just not fixable in that way. The whole business model is passé. It's going to have to move on to something else. Now, interestingly, and we were talking about this, you know, I watch a lot of these geek channels, Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, a lot of the lesser ones I'll look at once in a while. I know that Hollywood has completely collapsed as an oppositional force to Trump by the fact that they are not making videos about Hollywood meltdowns at all. Like, you can tell material is scarce because they won. They won. You know, these channels have been built around being in opposition to woke Hollywood. Woke Hollywood has collapsed. It's collapsed so thoroughly that a lot of their most cherished outlets are acknowledging it. So this is also from Variety. Hollywood is now ready to work with Trump. A little bit of this. For some, a return to 2020 before COVID, strikes, and devastating wildfires crippled Hollywood's limping economy would be welcome, even if meant enduring Trump's drive-by attacks on the industry. members of the industry's most left-wing contingent, the unions, are privately expressing hope that the president's planned tariffs on imports may cover runaway production, thus creating a greater incentive to film in hard-hit hubs like Los Angeles and Atlanta. One prolific indie film producer says he doesn't care for Trump's politics, but admits it is, quote, refreshing to hear the office of the president focus on how we can get the movie business back on track and back in Los Angeles. The producer made a film released last year chronicling historic events in LA. Quote, we had to shoot the whole thing in Bulgaria because it cost half as much. I had to sleep in a stinky hotel and not the house I worked my entire life to buy, he says. You didn't hear Biden talking about how to help us, unquote. To numerous power players Variety spoke with, just as staggering as the town's silence over the encroaching Trump effect is the procession of media moguls, from Amazon executive chairman Bezos to Disney CEO Bob Iger, making the pilgrimage to Mar-a-Lago or donating to Trump's inaugural fund. After parties for the Golden Globes were abuzz with news that Prime Video had plunked down $40 million to license a documentary about Melania Trump, to be directed by disgraced filmmaker Brett Ratner, who was accused by 6 women of sexual misconduct in 2017. So here's what I'm saying. Like, this is almost like a purposeful attack on Me Too and everything that it represented. Like, why would you go out of your way to hire fucking Brett Ratner and to appoint Mel Gibson except to like make a statement?
Well, that Amazon movie about Melania Trump too. I almost pitched that as like a segment in and of itself when the news broke that was happening a few weeks ago, because $40 million for a documentary is just insane.
Right.
It's insane to pay that amount of money for a documentary.
And you put him in charge of it. Like, hey, look, I will be the first to say that Me Too created a witch hunt environment. But that was one of the more credible accusations, of all the people to bring back from the dead. Hollywood's lost its nerve, said one chief executive at a media conglomerate. Bezos, who celebrated Joe Biden's 2020 presidential victory over Trump by noting that, quote, unity, empathy, and decency are not characteristics of a bygone era, is believed to have approved the deal. Now, I've got one last little piece of this, but I'm just going to editorialize a little bit. Any of the libs who thought that a bunch of oligarchs and billionaires actually gave a shit about any of these causes or any of these issues, you win the Moron of the Century award. It should be no surprise to you that in the end, they're going to go along to get along. The black squares, Amazon tweeting out the BLM symbols and the rainbow flags. They never gave a shit about any of that. They thought for the moment it was good business for them, that it was the way to ingratiate themselves with the faction in power that had to represent itself as nominally left without having an economic message. So that was their only message. So they echoed that message. They never cared about any of that. Surprise. So finally, even the Los Angeles Times is conceding that they all fucked up big time. Hollywood, the de facto public relations arm of the Democratic Party, has come to reflect and reinforce its political partners' worst instincts, ceding the initiative for understanding and delivering what Americans want in order to chase the chimera of a stable focus group approved midpoint in the culture. What's left presents an impoverished picture, not only of the progressive future, but of Hollywood's own, the entertainment industry equivalent of America is already great. Wow. That you know what that sounds like? That sounds like Hollywood hit rock bottom. They finally hit rock bottom and gained some insight into their own disease. But I don't think anyone can do anything about it. There are certain changes in the way that people consume entertainment and information that may have been accelerated by Hollywood's own self-inflicted wounds, but were probably coming anyway. Nobody's going to bring back Cecil B. DeMille era Hollywood, which sounds like what Trump is promising. Maybe he can improve certain things with tax breaks, encourage production in certain markets. But Hollywood as a business, as it was known, is over. And yeah, they helped to push themselves off the cliff, but that cliff was coming either way, I think.
Yeah, it was definitely coming either way. I mean, it's just a technological trend. I mean, and, as the line between, art and content is blurred, people's attention spans change according to that morphing trend there.
That too.
And so, I mean, look, to put these guys, Stallone, Voight, Mel Gibson, I mean, that's just a troll. I mean, Trump is a troll, and that's just a troll. I mean, what are they going to do?
Right.
Like what are they going to do? I mean, it's like I can't think of any real change they'll bring to the Hollywood system. And as you could see, the Hollywood system, just like big tech, has decided, hey, you know what? If this is the way the country's going, I guess we'll just go that way too. I also suspect a lot of Hollywood people are keeping their mouths shut about politics now, because I think a lot of big time Hollywood people voted for Trump because of Israel. That's what I think. I think they know that a lot of the agents and a lot of the studio heads and a lot of the executives preferred Trump to Kamala because of this issue. And that's why I think a lot of them are being silent about it too. I think that has a lot to do with it.
That's probably an element of it. But I think also because there are a lot of them that are not so subject to that, who are pretty freaking quiet. We're not even hearing much from Mark Hamill. Like, we're not hearing much even from the usual suspects.
Sure.
Like, the word has definitely gone out. Sit down and shut up. Sit down and shut up. The public has turned against us. Our entire industry depends on the public's love. We lost it. The audience we thought was going to show up didn't. Now we need to just completely reset, or we're not going to have jobs.
Yeah. Yep. I think that is probably the I would say, it's probably more of that than the Israel thing, but I think
that's
there's
probably
a lot,
an element. I think
there's a lot of acceptance.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of acceptance for that reason.
That's probably helping to tamp down the virtue signaling.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Where's RFK Jr., says Eric Rousseau? Shouldn't he be having a conniption fit over these AI mRNA vaccines? Yeah, you would think.
Yep,
So,
you would think.
So, absolutely. I got into that a little bit. China Shill, come on, guys, quit being doomers and give him a chance, says Brett. Yes, thank you, China Shill. Appreciate that. Yeah, Russell, check that out and let me know what you think. Eric Rousseau, if we are changing society, I vote the Logan's Run model. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. Appreciate that. David Santucci, thanks for the $50. It's obvious the establishment has been turning a blind eye to illegal immigration for decades to get a cheap, vulnerable workforce, and that our foreign policy is largely responsible for creating the conditions these people are fleeing. Absolutely. Thank you. I'll give that a heart, David. And Russ, can we have a cowbell for David?
Yep.
Thanks for that $50. Appreciate that. Thank you very much, and I agree with you. Fun Bad. So I guess RFK is going to be the new Bernie of MAGA. Thank you, Fun Bad. Sparky. Sorry, here it is. Sparky. Intentional or inadvertent, General Kellogg Cornflake may be Trump's new, perhaps low-key John Bolton. There you go. Yeah, I think we're going to hear a lot from Kellogg and a lot from Mike Waltz. I think those two are going to be like the Morlock and Fat Sager, basically, of the Trump team. Sparky, apparently your president still gets most of his information from TV and intel agencies bent on misleading them. Thank you, Sparky. Yes, indeed. Eric Rousseau, if we are changing society, I vote for the Logan's Run model. Thank you. Got that one already. All right. Kawaii Cowboy. Psychopaths is a great anime with an AI justice system. The cops shoot at all suspects and their guns decide whether lethal force is necessary based on what it reads off their biomarkers. Thank you, Quiet Cowboy. Appreciate that. My real name. Also, please add Mark Benioff to your creepy WEF billionaires list. Thank you, my real name. Appreciate that. Hamhawk, wait, so autonomous drone supervisors won't be human anymore? And it's Heather Hying, yes.
Yeah, we had a whole exchange about that. Oh, yeah, speaking of corrections, so I had a few people, not too many, who we did that Whitney Webb segment. I said Walter Kern was glomming onto Matt Taibbi. A lot of people were saying, don't you know he had a career? Yeah, he had a career in 2006, the last time he published a novel. He writes some articles, does some editorial work. That doesn't pay as well as you might think. As a podcaster, who would listen to that guy if he's not sitting next to Matt Taibbi? He wrote a good novel 25 years ago. So that's what I meant.
That's what he meant. My real name, a lot of companies are working to create the next generation of AI data centers. That doesn't keep me up at night. The Four Stooges on that stage do spending $500 billion. Yes, thank you, my real name. Appreciate that. RB Ham, not to blow my own horn, but I called it. Trump was selected because they view him as the instrument they can use to realize their goals. Absolutely. Yep, you did say that. You did say that. Our friend Craig Pasta Jardula said that too. They said he will be actually a better tool for them in the end. El Casador, so why not give that $500 billion to universities? Aren't innovation and entrepreneurship alive in those places? So Trump just gifted big corp and tech. Thank you, El Casador. Appreciate that. Hillary Hinton, hey, dirtbags, I have an idea for a DD play. The punchy one-sentence pitch is to imagine Glee meets the Atlantic Council. I'll call in later to flesh it out. Also, sorry about the dirtbags thing. Thank you, Hillary Hinton. Appreciate that. Yes, call in.
Let's circle back. We'll do lunch.
Yes, please do call in. Please do call in.
This is the new Hollywood.
Yes. SB, thanks for the $20. Love from Canada. Thanks for being your genuine and lovable selves. Thank you, SB. Appreciate that very much. Just Leaf. Kratom.com. Hey, there you go. Great show so far, guys. Did you see a sponsorship inquiry from JustLeafKratom.com? A home come through. I just want to check if I submitted it correctly. Courage. Thank you. I did see that. I'm not sure about the Kratom line. I don't know what the rules are in terms of that kind of stuff for YouTube, so I will look into that. But thank you. I did receive it. El Casador, invite Elon to join your smoke session and maybe Rogan as well. There you go. Sick, disgusting country, says the China shill. Appreciate that. Yes, absolutely. Agreed. All right. Lori Lamb, thanks for the $5. Note that many legal immigrants are for Trump's deportation policies because they had to work so hard to get into the U.S. legally. Yes, I do know that. And I do know that firsthand. Actually, I grew up in Newburgh, New York. A lot of immigrants there. Ellen Jimerson says Keaton completely understands what's going on vis-a-vis immigration. Solidarity. Well, I thank you for that, Ellen. I know a lot of what I've learned, and I don't know that much, but a lot of what I do know, I've learned from you. So thank you.
Well, south of the border, they call him El Canto del Diablo.
Yes, thank you for that. Appreciate that. All right. Sparky, thanks for the $10. I'm glad Elon did the salute because AIPAC stooges who normally shout anti-Semitism at the drop of a hat had to defend him, exposing them as full of shit. Thank you, Sparky, very much. Alrighty, folks. So we are going to move right along to our meme of the week, which sets up very nicely our next segment. So go ahead, Russell.
All right. So usually we do a more whimsical meme, but this seems to kind of be in the air. Donald Trump, how much money has he gotten from AIPAC? $230,473,622 independent expenditures and campaign contributions received from pro-Israel interest groups. You think that has anything to do with his plans to clear out Palestinians from Gaza and move them into Egypt and just other surrounding territories? I'd say so. I'd say that has something to do with it.
Yeah. And that was, it's funny. I saw that the AIPAC tracker had not put out the amount for Trump until now. So yes, that caught my eye as well. There was also another meme that caught my eye that I thought was great, but I lost it. I didn't bookmark it and I couldn't find it. So there was a meme. You know, sometimes you'll see like on a scroll, like a great meme will come up, and you won't bookmark, and you won't bookmark it, and you'll never see it again. There was a meme with a picture of a watermelon. Watermelon equals anti-Semitism.
Yeah,
Hitler
right.
saluting equals, awkward gesture. Yes, something like that. Yeah.
I saw that.
That was a good one. That was going to be the one that I suggested, but I lost it. I didn't bookmark it, and I couldn't find it. All right, folks. So let's go on to our next segment of the evening. So, folks, Donald Trump credited, rightfully so, with negotiating the ceasefire/hostage exchange. But as we told you, Donald Trump very much invested in the project of Greater Israel. And I very regrettably, but accurately, it looks like, predicted after October 7th that Israel would not stop until they had either cleared Gaza out or killed everyone in their way. And Donald Trump's recent statement here certainly seems in keeping with that very, very bleak goal. U.S. President Donald Trump says he is pressuring Jordan and Egypt to take in Palestinians from Gaza. I'd like Egypt to take people, and I'd like Jordan to take people. You're talking about 1.5 million people, and we just need to clean out that whole thing. That's right. Donald Trump.
That was always the plan. That was always the plan.
That was always the plan. So here's the audio from that exchange. It was not captured on video. It was recorded, and the audio is a little hard to hear. So thankfully, I just want to credit this person here, Howard Beckett, with dropping the subtitled version on Twitter. So we have some captions, make it a little easier to read and hear what's going on.
Gaza Strip right now, and it's a mess. It's a real mess.
So you'd like Jordan to house people from
I'd
Gaza?
like him to take people. I'd like Egypt to take people. I'm meeting with, I'm talking to General El-Sisi tomorrow, sometime, I believe. And I'd like Egypt to take people, and I'd like Jordan to take people. You're talking about probably 1.5 million people, and we just clean out that whole thing. It's it's over the centuries that's many, many conflicts that site. And I don't know, it's something has to happen, but it's literally a demolition site right now. Almost everything's demolished, and people are dying there. So I'd rather get involved with some of the Arab nations and build housing in a different location where they can maybe live in peace.
Temporarily, or would they
It could be either. It could be temporarily, it could be long term.
It's exactly what I said they were going to do. That they would create such a humanitarian crisis that they would frame pushing them into the surrounding areas as a humanitarian gesture.
Yes. Yep. That was certainly foreseeable, and that seems to be what he's trying to make happen right now. Al Jazeera reports ethnic cleansing, yes, which is the proper term for cleaning it out. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about he has endorsed the ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip. Ethnic cleansing feared as Trump asked Jordan, Egypt to take Gaza residents. United States President Donald Trump says he would like to just clean out Gaza, urging Egypt and Jordan to take in more Palestinians from the coastal enclave. Speaking with reporters on board Air Force One on Saturday, Trump said he had a call earlier in the day with King Abdullah II of Jordan and would speak with Egypt President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi later on Sunday. Later on Sunday, then, Jordan's Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi said that Amman's position is that the two-state solution is the way to achieve peace. He stressed, that Jordan's rejection of displacement is fixed and unchangeable in an apparent veiled response to Trump. The Palestinian Islamic Jihad armed group condemned the U.S. president's suggestion, calling it an encouragement of war crimes. Describing Trump's idea as deplorable, the group, which has fought a war with Israel alongside Hamas until last week's ceasefire, said his proposal falls within the framework of encouraging war crimes and crimes against humanity by forcing our people to leave their land. It also said Trump's statement was in line with the worst of the agenda of the extreme Zionist right and a continuation of the policy of denying the existence of the Palestinian people, their will, and their rights, and called on Egypt and Jordan to reject his plan. That plan failed for multiple reasons, one of which is that Arab leaders who were approached at that point in time simply declined to take on an additional Palestinian refugee population, in part because it was politically unviable in Egypt in particular, which was mooted as a possible destination for a mass ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from Gaza, he said. Al-Arian said Palestinians themselves would not be interested in such a proposal by Trump. They know all too well what it means to leave their home and what the status of Palestinian refugees has looked like for the past 70 years, he said. Sami Abu Zuri, a leader in the Hamas movement, commented on Trump's statements. The people of Gaza have endured death to avoid leaving their homeland, and they will not leave it for any other reason. There is no need to waste time on projects previously attempted by Biden, which only prolong the conflict. Implementing the agreement is sufficient to address Gaza's issues, and attempts to circumvent the agreement hold no value. So both of the Palestinian groups have rejected it. The neighboring countries have rejected it. That's not really much of a surprise. But you know who's very happy is the far-right Israeli cabinet. Meanwhile, far-right Israeli finance minister Bezalel Smotrich welcomed Trump's idea to relocate Gaza's residents to Egypt and Jordan. The idea of helping them find other places to start a better life is a great idea. After years of glorifying terrorism, they will be able to establish a new and good lives in other places, Smotrich said in a statement. Only out-of-the-box thinking with new solutions will bring a solution of peace and security. So there you go.
Not really outside the box. You've been trying to ethnically cleanse these people from the region for as long as you've been there.
Right. What he means by outside the box is outside of the Gaza Strip. That's what he means.
That's what he means.
I will, with God's help, work with the Prime Minister and the Cabinet to ensure there is an operational plan to implement this as soon as possible, Smotrich said. For Palestinians, any attempt to move them from Gaza would evoke dark memories of what they call the Nakba, or a catastrophe. Of course, the mass displacement of Palestinians during Israel's creation in 1948. I will, with God's help, work with the Prime Minister and Cabinet. Oops, sorry. That was repeat, my fault. For Palestinians, what the hell happened here? There we go. I'm sorry about that. Those two paragraphs were a redundancy. Egypt has previously warned against any forced displacement of Palestinians into the Sinai Desert, which El-Sisi said could jeopardize the peace treaty Egypt signed with Israel in 1979. Jordan is already home to around 2.3 million registered Palestinian refugees, according to the United Nations. So here's Itamar Ben-Gvir, who took time out of his retirement, I suppose, since he just resigned from the Israeli government. Congratulations to U.S. President Trump on the initiative to transfer residents from Gaza to Jordan and Egypt. One of our demands from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is to encourage voluntary immigration. And when the president of the world's largest power, Trump himself, raises the idea, it would be wise for the Israeli government to implement it. Encourage immigration now. We did a whole segment on this guy talking about voluntary displacement or whatever the hell. Come up with some Orwellian word for it. Essentially self-deportation, yes. Now, in keeping with this plan to ethnically purge Gaza of the about 1.5 million people who are there, Trump also said he has ended his predecessor's hold on sending 2,000-pound bombs to Israel. We released them today, Trump said of the bombs. They've been waiting for them for a long time. Asked why he lifted the ban on those bombs, Trump responded, because they bought them. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. Well,
they had a valid bill of sale.
Yeah, right. They had a bill of sale. That's right. Then President Joe Biden had put a hold on the delivery of those bombs due to concerns over the effect they could have on the civilian population. Israel's U.S.-made 2,000-pound bomb, you could see the mechanics of that. A 2,000-pound bomb can inflict damage within a radius of 300 meters. That's 1,000 feet. So just to give you an idea, the distance from street to street, if you're going up one of the avenues in New York City, it's about 260 feet. So you're talking about a radius of 4 blocks in every direction, because that's a radius, right? That is the scope of damage that one of these can do. So if you're targeting somebody in a building. If this were New York, you'd be in danger if you lived 4 blocks away.
Right.
That's what these 2,000-pound bombs can do. Now, look, none of this exonerates Joe Biden, as we've talked about and as we'll get to. He essentially sent them enough bombs to level the place entirely.
Right.
But when you're talking about just reducing it to absolutely nothing, these 2,000-pound bombs, we've seen what they've done. We've seen what they've done. Benjamin Netanyahu, thank you, President Trump, for keeping your promise to give Israel the tools it needs to defend itself, to confront our common enemies, and to secure a future of peace and prosperity. So Netanyahu is grateful for these 2,000-pound bombs, and he made a brief video thanking the president.
Thank you, President Trump, for keeping your promise to give Israel the tools it needs to defend itself, to confront our common enemies, and to secure a future of peace and prosperity.
Yep. So there you have it. There you have it. You know, Trump gets this ceasefire done, so he gets the diplomatic win. He gets some hostages back. He brings the families of the hostages, you know, on stage for one of his, 3 inaugural events, basically. And now you have a ceasefire in Gaza, which the people in Gaza are celebrating. But you're seeing the writing on the wall, what he thinks I don't use this term lightly, what the final solution for Gaza is. And that was very obvious, on October 7th. All you had to know was that when Benjamin Netanyahu said the enemy will know an unprecedented response, that could only mean the genocide and full ethnic cleansing of Gaza. And it seems like, Professor Zink has put out a tweet about this. Biden did the genocide part, and basically, now he passes the ball to Trump, who gets the final stage of this done, which is the ethnic purging. He's going to lean on these Arab states to take these people in. They have been leaned on before. They are stubborn that they won't. The Palestinian people are, of course, very proud and, stubborn in their resolve to say, no, we're not leaving. That's why this conflict exists in the first place, right? Mm-hmm. Because they didn't want to give up land that was stolen from them. But Donald Trump, just that last week, whatever the last show we did where we covered that 5-6 days ago, talked about how he's not confident that the ceasefire will hold. And what else did he say? Gaza's a phenomenal location. It's a phenomenal opportunity for the Israeli state to expand into. And when you look at a map, what is Gaza? Gaza is about 10% the size of the West Bank, I think. And so, Gaza is a pretty small but vital piece of land to the Israelis. Obviously, they want all of it. From the river to the sea is their phrase, not the Arabs' phrase. That's the Zionist phrase. Mm-hmm. That's why the Israeli flag is what it is. The 2 blue lines on the Israeli flag represent the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. And so here now the plan comes into action.
Yeah, here we put Trump Town. There we put Jaredville. This will be Ivanka Lane.
Yeah.
They've got it all mapped out already. We actually have done stories about a lot of people have done those stories about, they have in Israel, they have developers that have laid out blueprints for what they would put in Gaza. While the pressure has been taken off in Gaza, Israel is taking the opportunity to mount what is really a de facto cleansing of the West Bank. This is all part of that from the river to the sea, Greater Israel project. Now, the surrounding countries have always been resistant to taking in the Palestinians, partly because they have their own problems. They're afraid of the political instability that will come with adding millions to their own population. They already have problems with poverty and unemployment. They cannot really assimilate millions of immigrants into their territory. That's part of why they've always resisted it. And presumably they would continue to. Then again, you never know. These Arab countries, Iran, early in the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, early in this genocide, They tried to get the Arab countries together to do something about it. They're too bought off. They didn't.
Right.
We talked to Max a little bit about that, about why these countries were not helping. And that was basically what he told us. They're bought off. They're all bought off. So can Trump, if you actually have an American president who is going to completely get on board with the Greater Israel Project, can he bribe them enough to make them say yes? It's possible. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, look, on the one hand, I've always
doesn't mean the Palestinians will go willingly, but they made the world sit through a genocide for over a year. And when the students spoke up, they cracked their heads and created anti-speech laws on campus, or anti-speech codes on campus. So what would happen? What would happen? I mean, if this genocide was allowed to happen, what would stop them from forcing these people onto the proverbial trains and sending them into Jordan?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, nothing would stop them from doing that. Like I said, it was their goal to do that. I mean, it's been their goal to do that this entire time. Right. They've clearly wanted all the land this entire time. And this past 15 months was their effort to make this final push for Gaza. This is the that's sort of the expedited timeline because it's a smaller piece of land. The West Bank is ultimately the big prize, and they're going to start annexing large parts of that this year with the help of Trump. They said that before Donald Trump won the election, and that was a part of the deal that they made to get the ceasefire in writing. And so that's a definite. That's going to happen. As for, how they're going to get the Palestinians off of this land, this is what I said. I said they're going to force them to leave, and they're going to, they're going to kill whoever doesn't.
Right.
That's what I
said.
Well,
they've created conditions where how are people going to live there? Like they would need constant aid to live there. All of the infrastructure is gone.
Yeah.
They need constant supplies of food, constant supplies of water. When you got a population in that position, it's very easy to force them to leave. You cut off the aid, which the Israelis have demonstrated they're perfectly willing to do.
Exactly. So, folks, if you want some perspective on this whole thing, because it all seems so bleak and so hopeless, we're talking, of course, about Donald Trump's plan to now clean out Gaza after predicting that the ceasefire may not hold. Of course, this was after he got the photo op of the hostage families during his big inauguration week. Here's Abby Martin with some wisdom. There's no way forward except for the total liberation of Palestine. So here is an interview with TRT World in Turkey just days before Trump took office.
Way forward except for the total liberation of Palestine. Ceasefire has been the bare minimum demand that activists and Palestinians have been calling for the last 15 months of endless slaughter. So I am not going to take away anything from Palestinians who are celebrating a cease in their massacres, but I think that we have to be realistic that Israel has never adhered to any ceasefire resolution. We know Israel has become full-blown fascist. It's a Nazi state. They will go back into Gaza, as they have declared. They will continue annexing the West Bank, and they will continue on the Greater Israel Project. But the narrative has changed completely forever. The corporate media in the U.S. They operate for and by the elites, the ruling class, and it's an arm of the state. The corporate media apparatus in the United States is a functionary of the United States government, and it's bankrolled by defense contractors. And so it is up to us to amplify Palestinian voices and to let them dictate their own reality instead of the top-down control that we've been witnessing for the last 20 years. I think that it's clear that Biden is a virulent Zionist. He sat on the ceasefire deal for months, word for word. Endless slaughter of children over the last 8 months that he has sat on his hands and allowed this to continue. He is a disgusting war criminal of the highest magnitude, and he belongs in a dungeon for the rest of his life. So I think that Trump did force Netanyahu's hand. He didn't want the diplomatic nightmare of this going on, but we have to be realistic about who Trump is. He is also a Zionist, he's very close with Netanyahu, and he has promised several sweetheart additions to this ceasefire resolution, including greenlighting annexing the West Bank, lifting sanctions on extremist settlers and Pegasus software, and it is going to be a very tough road ahead for Palestinians unless the world stands up, especially Americans, stand up and force the hand of my government to stop subsidizing this criminal state. And now the question has to be, how do we hold those crimes accountable?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. And that does not change. That does not change. That really has not changed. You've gotten is a pause in bloodshed in Gaza, which, as she says there, obviously the people have every right and reason to celebrate. But the trajectory of this has not changed. These confirmation hearings are now underway. You got End Times Pete Hegseth getting through with 50 votes. J.D. Vance breaking the tie, right? A total fucking lunatic, a complete maniac. You have Huckabee, you have Stefanik at the UN. The writing is on the wall, and that just shows what a challenge this is. That's why, really, Palestine has been the issue all along. It's really, I mean, this issue really lays bare the challenge of a more just and equitable world, because nothing spells out just the layer upon layer upon layer of absolute evil of the West like this. And I say the West because we started this live stream out. Switzerland arrested a pro-Palestine journalist this week. So you're talking about, I mean, Trump doesn't make things any easier. But on the other hand, does he make things much harder than Joe Biden? Like, you're talking about a Goliath. You were talking about an international apparatus. You are talking about a hegemon that can and must be toppled through time and effort and courage. It's going to take a lot of all of those things, and that has to be our project for our lifetimes, frankly.
Yes, and this is also why, and we said this as soon as the election was resolved. This is going to be a time where people are really going to show who they are. You have a lot of people, Whitney pointed that out in the previous segment that we did, that, you're going to have a lot of indie podcasters who are going to endorse what they were against when Biden's name was on it under the Trump packaging. People who are running around talking about how Trump should get a Nobel Prize, things like this. These are not serious fucking people. Anybody who's going to claim to be fighting the deep state or to be fighting against the military industrial complex, who all of a sudden is on board with Trump, that's not a serious person. That's not anybody to listen to. That's a shill. That's a dancing monkey. That's somebody who just wants to be on a team, who just wants to be on a side. At best, it's a grift at worst. At best, it's that the person feels like they got to hook up with some kind of bigger power. They want to be on a team. But anybody who will not address Israel is not a serious commentator. They're not serious because you can't talk about speech. You can't talk about the military industrial complex. You can't talk about corporate power. You can't talk about lobbying. You cannot credibly talk about any of those subjects if you're on the wrong side of this subject or if you're silent on this subject, as many cowardly people are. Many people take the coward's way out. It's a tough subject, especially, I think, at the higher and higher levels of the game you get to. You're dealing with people with more money who are more likely to be influential Zionists that you don't want to fuck with. But for you, as somebody who is an audience member, my advice, just ignore those people. If they will not talk about Israel, or if they're running around deciding they're going to ignore this because now it's Donald Trump, or Donald Trump is some kind of a fucking hero because he negotiated a half-assed ceasefire, which he seems to have promised them that they could do the Greater Israel Project as long as they got those optics out of the way for his inauguration. These people are clowns. They're clowns. They're not serious. They're not worth listening to. And over the next few years, we're really looking forward. Next month, we're going to Shama's Worker Strike Back conference. And we've got to articulate and form a left response to Trumpism. The answer is not to join it.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned the Worker Strike Back conference, because I did want to talk a bit about that. We'll probably talk a bit about that in the next show, but we are trying to organize for that a super stream for Worker Strike Back, where all of our friends, even if you're not our friend, even if you don't like us and we don't like you, whatever, all of our peers in this space, I mean, yeah, exactly. All of our peers in this space will be invited to stream our coverage of Worker Strike Back on their channel, with the goal of getting 1 million views for that conference. So everybody who wants to stream that, we're going to be running the Worker Strike Back feed along with Russell's sort of interviews and backstage stuff, and we'll have that going on 2 screens, and we will have that streaming on our YouTube, our Rumble, and then any other channel in this space who wants to stream that can stream that. And so put out the word to your favorite channels, whoever you watch, to email us, dudissidents@gmail.com, if they're interested in doing that, because any channel that streams Worker Strike Back through us, we will send you a link to join the show at certain points. So we'll have guests coming on from all the channels who will be streaming that with us. That is, I think, a great opportunity to build community, to turn over a new leaf. This is now the left's rebuild phase, so let's make it happen. And we'll have more details on that in the coming days.
Yeah, the times are too serious for these kind of old internecine grudges. I've described this social media space as a panopticon, and it really is. The algorithm really encourages these kind of stupid feuds, and it's going to make the oligarchs very happy for us to continue in that direction, but we have to get past it. Now, I do acknowledge there are certain issues of infiltrators or sheepdogs, and that's definitely something to talk about and think about. But for this stream, we're going to try to bring everybody together.
Yeah, whoever wants to, and like I said, we'll iron out the details. But we've talked to Shama about it. Our goal is to spread this far and wide. 1 million views. 1 million views. That's our goal. 1 million views for the Worker Strike Back stream. So thank you. Appreciate you reminding me of that. Actually,
if Russell Brand wants to stream it,
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Whoever wants. Yes. Sparky intentional. Oh, sorry, got that one already. Sorry. Here we go. Turbo GG. Mel Gibson is 1 glove short of an OJ. Thank you, Turbo GG. Sparky F Israel. I vote the Soylent Green model. Thank you very much. Let's see. Here we go. Where are we? Sorry, he's coming in too fast for me here. Free Greenland from Danish tyranny. Thanks, Sparky. And brutal oppression. We only want to bring them freedom and democracy. Thank you. Mark P. Thicot. Thank you. Hi from Sweden. Just got up for work, so I don't know what you've been talking about, but I know it's worth a couple bucks. I'll listen later. Thank you, Mark P. Thicot. Appreciate that.
Well, that's where you're wrong.
Oh, yeah. MAGA for Palestine says, look at Trump's latest Truth Social post with a laugh emoji. All right, I will, now that you've done that. Tusker says, Keaton, I regret to inform you that America has fallen. The Chiefs won. Yeah.
Oh, no. Did they?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, they were the favorites. Yeah, they were the favorites. All right, let's go to Raven Laz. Just FYI, fellas, the locals pronounce Newark like Nork. Similar to Houston Street in the city is pronounced Houston, yes, of course. Also, Kearney is corny. Don't ask me why. All right, thank you, Raven Laz. Nork, appreciate that. Colombia have announced today tariffs on American goods in retaliation. Yes, I saw that. That was too late breaking to cover. Yeah, it was too late breaking to cover that story today. But we will cover it Tuesday for sure. V Nettles BM, what's with the number of the beast reference? Oh, 666. That's our number of the beast sound drop.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We get 666 likes or 6,666 combined views across the platform. Eric Cousteau, Rambo, they drew first blood, not me. Thank you, Eric Cousteau. That John Voight sure has a purty mouth. Thank you. Thank you, Ken. Thanks again. Ken Texican made it back for the show. China Shill really beating the Nazi allegations with Mel there. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Sly, along with Arnie and Streisand, also attend Friends of IDF events and donated money since maybe the 90s. Yeah, that does not surprise me. Hobbs, 45. Thanks for the $10. Gibson and Stallone and Voight can explain to Trump how to make a hip new movie. They won many Blockbuster awards. Remember Blockbuster. Thank you, Hobbs 10. Appreciate that.
Exactly. Yeah. These
Sparky,
guys are going to point the way forward.
Break it off in BlackRock. Make Ukraine Russia again. Thank you very much, Sparky.
All right, here we go. We remake the Ten Commandments with The Rock.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Sounds good. All right, folks. So we're going to do one more segment. And then because we are running late as I thought we might, we're going to do the Lab Leak segment on tomorrow's Patreon show. We will drop it as a clip, so everybody will get to see it. But, hey, if you want to watch it live, join our locals and join us tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. One of the many perks you get are members-only streams. So we'll be doing that along with some other material tomorrow and taking your calls. So we don't want to keep the patrons up all night waiting to call us. So we're going to do one more here, and then we're going to go to Rumble for the Q&A. We will finish Super Chats and Rumble Rants as well. So go ahead.
All right. So, Boeing is one of my beats. Mass incarceration is one of my beats. And some are called, few are chosen. But I've been chosen to have Russell Brand as my beat. So just to sum up, we did a video the other day if you want a detailed timeline. So you might remember a couple years back, right about this time, a couple years back, Russell Brand had some accusations made against him. Now, for a while after that, actually, all the way until April last year, he was talking about Israel still. Here, we showed this video in our previous segment. He referred to Gaza as a genocide. Then later that same month, actually, I misidentified the date in the original clip. So it was April 28th. He did this baptism that same month. Never mentioned Israel again after that. Never talked about it, as far as I can see. If I'm wrong, please let me know. I couldn't find anything where he ever talked about Israel after that. So by the time you get to December, he's in the absurd position. And this is what I'm talking about when I say, you cannot be a serious commentator if you're afraid to talk about Israel. Look, how do you do that? He spent 10 minutes talking about Syria without mentioning Israel. You can't. You can't do that. It touches on every other subject. So now the final insult. Scam artist and Kabbalist Russell Brand hanging out with Kabbalah Rabbi Shmuley at RFK Jr. event. What are they scheming? RFK Jr. has interesting friends. That he does. So let's take a look at that. It's a quick clip.
Come on, Russ, come on, Rabbi Shmuley. What the hell? Russell Brand has made me laugh. He's giving me joy. But I love that he's Bobby's buddy. I love Bobby Kennedy. We all love Bobby. God bless you. Praise the Lord. God bless you, Russell.
You know, that Nazi salute's going around, man.
Yeah, I know. You got to watch the hand there.
Going around. They got to watch it.
We all love Bobby. God bless you. Praise the Lord. God bless you, Russell.
He looks like a Zig Hail to me, but all right. So he got so much pushback on this that he felt a need to say something about it. I'm a Christian. I believe that Israel deserves a homeland. I also believe that war and violence is wrong. That's what they call the old grifter two-step.
Yeah, it's a brave stance.
It's very brave. So let's see what he said.
I actually do believe that Israel deserve a homeland and that the Jewish people have a homeland. I'm a Christian, so I do believe that. I also believe that war and violence is wrong and that there is a general sense that the more powerful tribe or group have a greater responsibility to bring about peace in conflicts. So I don't know what that makes me, baby, but I tell you this, Heavenly Father, I pray for peace.
I'll tell you what it makes you. It makes you a pussy. Because there's not just a general sense that the greater power has a greater responsibility. I mean, you're right. There is a general sense of that. But you've been able to articulate pretty well the very specific way in which that applies to this situation, as we'll get to.
Well, I understand, though, he's sending 5G necklace amulets to all the Palestinians in Gaza. So he is putting his amulets where his mouth is.
I pray that the people of Israel and the people of Palestine can live in peace. And if it is your will, Lord, it will happen.
That is what you call a profile in courage right there. So some people responded to this, Blakely. I'm going to need you to not disparage Christianity by implying that Christian Zionism is Christianity. It's not. It's not Christ-like to murder children and bomb Jesus's birthplace, actually.
Hey, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, where was Christ born? Bethlehem. Where's Bethlehem? In the occupied West Bank.
Yes. Syrian girl, this is what it takes to make your rape allegations go away. Well said. More on that later. Empire of Lies. What kind of blackmail material does Israel have on this freak Russell Brand? One can only imagine the depravity. Again, we will get to that. So now this is actually worse than I thought. When we covered this the other day, I showed that New York Times segment from April, but it's actually worse than that. I don't know if this originates with this tweeter, Angelo Giuliano. I think it does. Russell Brand turning into a full Zionist bitch. In 2014, he was calling for a boycott to Israel, to a full support of Israel in 2025, despite the massacres, despite the genocide. He is following other traitors, bitches, the Alex Jones, Elon Musk, etc. No spine, no dignity. So let's see what Russell Brand said in 2014. I have never seen this. He called for an Israel boycott. Comedian urges big businesses that facilitate the oppression of people in Gaza to pull funding. Russell Brand has gone one step further in his condemnation of the Israel-Gaza conflict than simply critiquing the way various media outlets have approached coverage. Now the comedian is urging banks, pension funds, and other big businesses to sever investment ties with Israel or any deals that he feels facilitate the oppression of people in Gaza. Using Barclays as an example, he said the bank manages, quote, the portfolios of an Israeli defense company called Elbit, which makes the drones that bomb Gaza. The message they give us is the exact opposite of the reality. They're acting like they're part of our community, he said during his new episode of The Truths. But if we're aware of the reality of what they do, then we have the power to influence them. He went on to encourage his viewers to sign a petition on the Avaz campaign website to put pressure on companies such as Barclays, computer company HP, security giants G4S, pension fund ABP, and heavy machinery Caterpillar brand to rethink their investments. So far, it has amassed almost 1.7 million signatures of support. So, hey, I looked it up. It's pretty hardcore site. I think they were successful with Barclays. That's what it says here. Barclays win. So any idea that maybe he didn't really know all the details about this and he's got people like Shmuley in his ear? No, he's very knowledgeable based on what was in this article from 11 years ago. He understands. He gets it. He knows. But here he is now playing stupid, playing like he doesn't really know what's going on there.
There's a general sense that the more powerful country has just a general
I have a
sense
general sense, but as a Christian, I think the Jewish people deserve a home.
All right. Well, where do you live, motherfucker?
Yeah,
Put
right,
him there. Put him there. So, okay. So I put forth the theory in our previous segment that Brand was blackmailed. So I'm going to take a look here at the timeline and a little background here. Okay, so our executive producer, Suge Knight, did a segment with Chris Cuomo explaining an interesting practice that he claims Diddy performed on potential male artists.
somebody will get their ass whooped. You know, that was me in those days. They used to have these guys, they used to call it the boiled egg test. They could take a boiled egg, a raw boiled egg, and have those guys pull their pants down and bend over and they stick it up their ass. The eggs break, they say they're not ready yet. They ain't put enough work in. This is Hollywood. So everybody want to go act like they don't know what's going on.
Hold on a second,
but
Suge.
you just look. All you gotta do is
I have never heard of anything like that. So if I haven't heard about it, just assume a lot of people haven't heard that before. But you think it's on video?
Let's stop for a second.
Go ahead, Suge.
Listen, also, have you ever been to any puffy parties?
No.
You sure they had a long time to think about it. But if you haven't been in those butt naked parties, even some of the preachers been in those parties, and they wasn't on their knees praying for God. See, they were praying for somebody to have come real quick or something. But I wasn't there, but there's proof of it. But at the same time, everybody want to look around and act like something going on that wasn't right. It's the facts of life in the industry.
Okay, so boom. Russell Brand holding an egg, and it wasn't Easter, baby. It wasn't Easter. If you could give me another explanation other than what Suge Knight's laying out there for why he's holding that egg, please let me know. I haven't had anybody who was able to volunteer a reasonable alternate explanation for this picture. So now let's look at a little bit of a timeline here. Sean Diddy Combs' investigation, what authorities found his home. So Diddy's home was raided on March 25th. As far as I could tell, Russell Brand basically stopped talking about Israel within a couple of weeks of that. And April 28th, about a month later, all of a sudden he goes through this conversion, doesn't talk about Israel anymore. Here he is. Oh, he's baptized. All of a sudden he's all renewed, right? Mysteriously, right after they raid Diddy's house, this guy all of a sudden converts to Christianity. Didn't do it after that accusation. He actually continued those accusations a couple years back. He actually continued to speak on that subject after that. But after that raid on Diddy's house, man, he stopped talking about that subject. Combs gets arrested September 17th. September 29th, he's out there with Jordan Two-Face leading the Lord's Prayer before a MAGA crowd that I was in that crowd. I could say some of them were into it. Some of them were skeptical. But there he was. Oh, Lord, and please, January 6th. You know, throwing in his own little MAGA pandering improvs. And finally, you wind up with what we saw last week with him with Rabbi Shmuley. You put that all together. I don't know. I'm not saying I have knowledge of this. Looks to me like they got something on this guy and they shut him up.
Well, I mean, the political, I mean, look, the political transformation is pretty obvious in general, and all of the cultural signaling. Like, he's not a vegetarian anymore, apparently. He eats steak at Mar-a-Lago now. He gave that up too.
He gave up the vegetarianism.
Yeah, he gave up the vegetarianism.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, look,
Wow.
I mean, this is a case study. I mean, those things aside, you know, look, it's a case. I mean, we've seen it happen a lot where people get, you know, canceled and they run to a certain crowd for cover. And
but this is very extreme. And if you look at that timing, Diddy's place gets raided within a month. This guy's a Christian. We don't know. But if you look at the timeline, it tracks. That's right when he does this very public conversion. Within a month of that, a little over a month after that, no more talk of Israel.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it could be something. Could be something. I mean, you know, that was what was
I
that,
mean,
April?
I'm no Whitney Webb, but I think I think I'm on
exactly.
I'm on the right track here.
Yeah, I think I'm on the right track here. There you go. All right. Eric Maines. First they call workers back to office, then they screw us on Good Taco Tuesday lunch joints. Now I can't even gross out a non-binary in a stall next to me after the taco binge. That's carrying democracy too far. Thank you, Eric Maines. Appreciate that. Marky Mark, guys, it's very late stage capitalism. Too few people get money working for capital to then buy other stuff capital makes. now needs cheap immigrants or AI robots to function. AI robots, Skynet police state. Thank you very much for that. Let's see. Cameron T. Keaton's Mel Gibson joke earlier wouldn't bring your female support down to 8%. Calling Altman and Musk ladies was really grating. Childish. Russ. Oh, that's too bad.
Calling who what?
Them ladies. Yeah, Altman and Musk ladies.
Oh my God! Wow.
Behave, girls.
Are you being woke?
Yeah.
Are you being woke?
Yeah. Michael, thanks for the $1. Marky Mark says,
them.
I'm very disabled and going through very bad stuff. Thanks so much for keeping me slightly more sane. Love you guys. Love you too, Marky Mark. Thank you for the kind words. Appreciate that. CWO2, thanks for the $5. Appreciate that. P. Walker, notice Russell's order number 1 to the right of Israel. Number 2, I'm against war. There you go. Was the right of Israel. Number 2, I'm against war. Yep. Of course. Eric Maines, mental note, no omelets, egg salad after Diddy party. Thank you for that very much. Appreciate that. Fro Screen Fire Dancer, my boss told me not to stay up too late with you all as I'm tired on Mondays. Joke's on him. That's my secret. I'm always tired. Russ, get the film reference? Who needs accuracy at work anyway? Thank you, Fro Screen. Appreciate that very much. Trump doesn't even know that Blinken already went to Jordan and Egypt and begged them to take the Gazans. They told Blinken to go F himself. That's true. They did. Camden, thanks for the $1. 1.5 million, 2.3 million before October 7th. Does he have the correct numbers? 800,000 missing from total. Yeah, no, I mean, I did notice that. He's talking about 1.5 million. You never know if he doesn't know or where he got that number from or if that reflects a very high death toll. JustLeafKratom.com says, smart companies can get pretty touchy about this particular leaf. I'd hate to have boycott myself for getting my favorite show demonetized. Thank you. Appreciate that. El Casador, who gets the point for predicting Trump would just make things go quicker? Russ or Keaton? Seems like the offshore gas might be the real prize. Could be. Thank you, El Casador. Very much. Goo81, you should try to get Leif Maroof from Press Palestine TV for an interview, along with Dimitri Lascaris regarding Canada. Thank you for that, Goo81. Appreciate that. We got Ravid Laz, thanks for the $1. Announcer voice, Stay Free with Russell Brand, brought to you by Shmooly Lube. Shmooly Lube, used in routes for U.S. Congress and President. Also, may never forget Israel bombed Bethlehem Christmas Day 23. That's right. They did hit Bethlehem on Christmas Day. That is correct. All right, folks. So we're going to head over to Rumble in just a moment. DoDissidents.com /Rumble. Let's see. Where are we over there? Oops. Where the hell is it? Where's the link? Jake, do you have the link up there? Do you see it? I mean, something's happening. I don't know if you're getting Rumble rants. There it is. DoDissidents.com /Rumble. That takes you to this stream where we will head into a Q&A. So we're going to take a 5-minute intermission before a question and answer period. So if you would like to get on the phone and start calling in, the phone being the StreamYard link that we sent you guys all with the supporter email. So DoDissidents.com /Rumble takes you YouTubers over to this very Rumble live stream. So thank you very much for doing that. If you're sticking around for the Q&A, that's when we will see you in just a moment. Let me take some more of these here. Hollywood Jablomi, only thing Trump is draining is Zio balls. Am I right? Thank you. Appreciate that. El Casador, I thought that recharging the brand amulet required insertion into the same location as Diddy Egg went. Unfortunately, there's no fast charging. Use surname not to confuse with DD Russ. Thank you. Raven Laz, announcer voice, Shmooly Lube, works great with crystal strap on. Who needs AI when you can use an unpolished shard to make your significant other on their best behavior? Thank you. Used surname not to confuse with DD Russ. I assume DD Russ eats eggs the normal way.
I sure do.
That is right. All right, folks. Before we end the show today, I did want to do one PSA, kind of a personal PSA for the Kawasaki Disease Foundation, because it is Kawasaki Disease Awareness Day, apparently. Now, I know awareness days are corny, right? Awareness days are cheesy. What is awareness? Oh, Women's Awareness Day. Everybody's aware of women, right? Or some famous thing. We're having awareness day for a famous thing, right? But in this case, an awareness day could actually be life-saving, because Kawasaki disease is a disease that affects mostly children 5 and younger, and my twin boys both got it at the same time. They're genetically identical, so it's very, very weird how this happened. But it is basically what Kawasaki disease is it's an incorrect autoimmune response to some sort of stimulus. And so both my boys, my twin boys, last 2 summers ago, you guys might remember, some of you fans of the show, we missed a few shows because one of my guys ended up in the hospital for a few days with this. It's an autoimmune reaction where your body basically attacks its own blood vessels and causes a widespread inflammatory response. And it gets you extremely sick, high fevers for 5 to 10 days, redding of the hands, swelling and peeling apart of the lips. One of my guys was extremely irritable, couldn't eat, couldn't drink. And so we brought him into the hospital. We basically had to ask to look for symptoms of this because it's a very, very rare thing. And when you catch it on time within 10 days and you treat it, they treat it with something called IVIG, which is an immunoglobulin, sort of basically like a plasma that they hook you up to an IV, and they get it out of your system for a day. When you do that, the prognosis is very good. There are rarely any long-term effects. If you don't do that, if you don't treat it, it is very serious and can cause serious long-term heart complications because your arteries can become diluted. And when your arteries become, not diluted, dilated. When your arteries become dilated as a kid, they don't grow as well as you grow up. And if that happens in the artery near your heart, it can create long-term heart problems where you now have basically a chronic heart disease situation. So it's something to be aware of because very few doctors, when my kids had it, we didn't know what the hell was wrong with them for like 6 days or so. And one of my guys did not get the IVIG. Thankfully, he was treated with a steroid, and that seemed to knock it out. And he followed up with a cardiologist, and he got the all clear, so he shouldn't have any long-term effects, knock on wood. My other guy was not so lucky. In a way, he was luckier, actually, because we took him to the hospital, we got him checked out and diagnosed, and he got the formal treatment for it. But it's a very, very scary thing, and you have to recognize it. When you recognize it, you're almost always good to go. When you don't recognize it, it can be pretty devastating. So if you have a young one, or if you know people with a young one, fever more than 5 days, redding of hands, cracking of lips, go to an ER and bring that up to the doctor. That is a case where being aware of this can save your life, because not a lot of people are aware of this. This is not on a lot of people's radar because it is very rare. But it saved my boys a lot of trouble getting this diagnosed and taken care of. And so hopefully the same happens to you guys if you should be so unlucky as to encounter this disease. So like I said, if you got a child, or if you know someone with a child and they're sick for more than 5 days with a fever, bring this up to their mom or dad. Or if you're a mom or dad, you'll have this at your disposal. KD Foundation.
If you can't clear it up with CBD oil.
Yeah, right. Exactly. CBD does not work with this. You need the more powerful stuff for this. But it is very important to know about. It can be very important to know about if this does come your way. So kdfoundation.org to learn more. All righty. So thank you very much for being here tonight, everybody. We want to thank our Rumblers and our YouTubers and Jake in the booth tonight. Did I mention Jake is with us tonight? I think I did. Round of applause for Jake in the chat, everybody. Please and thank you very much. We are going to take a 5-minute break and then open up the phone lines to all of you fine people. So thank you very much for being here. If you're not sticking around for the Q&A and you're a patron and a paid member at dudissidents.locals.com, we'll see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. for the patron show. Everybody else, we will see you back here 2 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday afternoon. Until whenever we see you again, be safe, be well. Everybody else, we'll see you in 5 minutes.
Courage!
Please clap.